Ukrainian men from Ukraine, straight off the boat, are going to be, they're going to have a higher prevalence for domestic violence against women, and very misogynistic. So I know now if I meet a Ukrainian man, I don't want to try to engage in a romantic relationship or even a close friendship with him.
Most black comedians talk about stereotyping. They talk about how it affects them and they try to make light of it. So there is like a good use, but even then, it's still not good.
People sit there and say that they don't think that stereotyping is good, but then they'll like at the same time say something like, yeah, Trump supporters are literally fucking evil. Before they even
but that's supporters of Trump. You have to believe some pretty fucked up shit to support Trump, right? It's sort of goes.
I would like to think we are intelligent, but the panel will decide, okay? We will find out how intelligent we are. So again, get into a game. If you have trouble getting a word in, alpha hands, and I'll make sure to put you in the list. But other than that, floor's open. Go ahead.
So I just like to really quick.
By the way, like 10 of you started at once.
I have one stereotype that I would like to point out is that streamers use 1,000 words when they could use 3.
True.
She's kind of right.
But that's I was actually gonna
stereotypes are based
draw on
now.
that.
Thanks,
like
Polly.
how much do people on this panel think that they defy the stereotypes that would apply to them or meet them?
Look,
because we've got a varied group, and I reckon that having spoken to quite a few of you, I'd say there are stereotypes that people on this panel fit really well.
Are you going to stereotype?
Throw one out there. Go for it.
Yeah, go ahead. Stereotype us all.
It's not that I
want to hear it.
It's not that I play.
What do you think I do it as a
stereotype of
profession, for instance?
verbosity. Like, it's not that I play into the stereotype of verbosity among streamers. It's that I actually get paid by the word. That's what you guys don't understand.
You're right.
Well,
So
that's
you're
fine,
on
but
the
I
grind
heard
set, that's
Beckett
what's
step
different.
into it, and I want him to like step fully into it.
Yeah.
So Beckett, tell us which one of us fits a stereotype, and what stereotypes do we fit?
Well, I think for the people I've spoken to previously, I'll be a little bit more fair because I haven't interacted with everyone. But say for Wick fits a stereotype of kind of a bit of a bombastic moderating host. He fits very well into kind of the idea of being both entertaining, but still allowing kind of a panel show to run in a particular way. He's from a particular area within America.
Nope, I'm going to stop you right there. Picking on the cis het white male is cheating. Pick someone else. Literally.
Wait. Pick someone you don't know. You don't know me at all.
Okay,
Wait, what do you think I do for a profession? And just tell me what you think my life is. How about that?
Okay.
Well, Dirk, you're also not a streamer, to be fair.
Profession.
No, I know, but this is perfect. He knows nothing about me.
Superintendent of an apartment building. And
you remember
before. Like, what are you talking about?
Okay, I forgot. Yeah, okay. Shit.
It would be even more funny if you were like, "Oh, how do you know that?" Okay.
No, but a lot of the time people think like, "Oh, you're being trash."
Gang, we're all trying to talk to each other. I love the energy, right? But we got one at a time, gang. So finish your point, Beckett. Be concise, and then we'll move on.
So let's just quickly take the Gaytheist. Like, there are elements to the name that you have picked that instantly stereotype you as to believing certain things or being in a certain way quite off the bat. The way kind of you're very defensive, not defensive, that's the wrong word, I'm not trying to place it in that way, but you explain very clearly what your name means as atheist, that says things about you and the kind of content you're going to produce and the things you believe, which is useful in a good way, because then when people interact with you, they're going to know what they're getting right off the bat rather than having a slow lead up to knowing those things.
Also means you're
but that's just a word.
That's a definition. That's like a literal
right. I mean, that's not a stereotype. That's just a word.
Yeah.
Well, it's a label.
Try again.
Try
again, buddy.
It's a label applied to them to sort of project what it is that their brand is, right? And I think
the stereotype would be that like an atheist would hate religion, right? That would be they're satanic.
Yeah,
those
there
would
you
be the
go.
stereotypes.
Yeah.
Like that's where you draw the inference that people have said about it, usually in some sort of cultural cue.
So
what would be some streamer stereotypes though? I haven't heard one yet.
Parasocial,
can we
don't touch grass. Live in their parents'
clout chasing.
Clout
chasing. Yeah.
I want to kind of redirect a little bit because I think Polly brought up a really good point earlier, is that we still haven't found these like useful stereotypes. Like I still haven't heard of one yet. Like even when you were talking about like Wick, like I was like, what were the use of these things? Like were these even stereotypes or were they just kind of observations,
I
right?
actually have a pretty good stereotype for Polly. That's what I wanted to get into first. That would be useful for me specifically in my life, and I would maybe like to say it here and warn people. Ugh, that actually sounds bad.
Wait, where
I
are
have
we
found
going with this? Just be careful, okay?
no, I understand. So I think I'm choosing pretty good here. I'm Ukrainian, right? And I'm aware now that Ukrainian men from Ukraine, straight off the boat, are going to be they're going to have a higher prevalence for domestic violence against women, and very misogynistic. So I know now if I meet a Ukrainian man, I don't want to try to engage in a romantic relationship or even a close friendship with him because they're culturally a way that I don't agree with, and I need them to assimilate first. I know it sounds super cringe, but like for my own safety. And then I remember thinking to myself, oh, well, you're just being prejudiced and blah, blah, blah. Oh, that's just propaganda and maybe not. So I met some Ukrainian men and he's asked me out and I said no. And then he like goes to shake my hand and I'm like, no. And then he like almost breaks it because I'm saying no to him. Unbelievable. It's like literally the stereotype and then it's there and I'm like, okay, so now I'm aware of the stereotype and it's real and you could look it up online and I could be like, yeah, maybe some stereotypes are good to prevent some sexual assault for women.
So I'm gonna say this as kind of kindly as possible. That is like by definition prejudice. Like you are judging an entire group of men before you even know who they are. And just to be fair, like I could just equivocate like a woman having a bad interaction with one black guy and then saying like, well, some stereotypes are true and be like, well, no, that's an anecdotal experience.
But
I didn't say all white guys. I said
head.
Ukrainians straight off the boat from Ukraine. So it's a cultural bias. It's a cultural stereotype that they hold.
Hold on, but you can broaden that out really quick. You can broaden that out.
One at a time. We're gonna go Polly, then we're gonna go Sondsol, and then we're gonna go Zonia.
Well, so I thought you were going to use a stereotype about me, because you mentioned my name specifically, but it sounds like you're not. I would say that it doesn't matter whether you're talking about something that's cultural or racial. There's a lot of stereotypes that are stated culturally, but are essentially a racist stereotype. Like, you might say that culturally Ukrainian men are whatever the fuck. But the question I would ask you is like, would you then change your behavior around Ukrainian men as opposed to other men?
Yes.
And how is that?
I have to now because I was physically assaulted by one who I said no to. I've never had that from anyone else here in Toronto.
By one or by many?
Well, two, but the other one was a friend. The other one was sexually trying to engage me. And then like talking with my fellow Ukrainians.
Pretty bad.
They're pretty bad fresh off the boat, but that's culturally, and that's not to say all of them. Again, that's blanketed, but it's really bad there.
Well, what percentage do you assume of Ukrainian men are going to be sexually assaulting you?
It's actually really hard because I was looking up, but they were saying that like they estimate that 30% of all domestic violence is not reported because women are taught there also culturally to just deal with it. And there's this Ukrainian proverb: "This you don't take your garbage outside." Like it stays in the home.
What percentage of Ukrainian men, based on your experience, do you feel you would be unsafe around, based on your experience?
80%.
That's a number. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you want any more responses there? Then we gotta go Sondsol, then Zonia, then Rose.
If I can give a quick response, if you don't mind.
Concisely, Yamato, please. But yes.
All right. So the only idea I could even say for like a possible good use of stereotyping, and even if like I use this thing. Or my description of it is still a net negative because you're telling a negative experience in a joke. It would be that stereotyping in jokes could be positive, but it's still a negative because when most black comedians talk about stereotyping, they talk about how it affects them and they try to make light of it. So there is like a good use, but even then, it's still not good. Like even when you say all Ukrainian men, like it's still selecting a group and like fucking targeting them for something that they may or may not do. It's like me walking down the street and some chick sees me like and literally goes to the other side of the fucking street just because I'm just some black dude walking at night.
Yeah, the point that I was gonna bring so like the
well,
real quick. So the thing that I was gonna bring up was like number one, I don't think that we would ever attribute, you know, the thing that you're saying to like black men if you had like one or two bad experiences with a black dude. I don't think that anyone here would be okay with that, or like most people in society would be okay with you saying, yeah, black men, man, they just beat their wives. They love beating women, right?
So
but wait, hold on. But just to your
real quick,
point,
Sondsol,
right?
you can finish, but we gotta let her respond after. So Sondsol,
sure, of
you
course.
finish your point, and then we're gonna let her have a response to it.
Right, and so like what I would say is, I think that there are ways that people kind of categorize people, right? I think that one way that I've seen a lot of women do is like they, in order to keep themselves safe, when they go out to like bars and stuff, they just assume that all men are about to.
Can you mute yourself? We got background noise. That's sorry.
Like women, when they go out to clubs and stuff, they'll sit there and they'll just assume that every man is trying to fuck. Every man is like a potential like date rapist, some shit like that. And I don't think that that's. I'm kind of 50-50 on that because I don't think that that should be something that they do, obviously. But if you think about it, like that might be one way for them to keep safe, right? Maybe it's not based off of someone's race, but maybe it's based off of their gender and like the location, right? I also think that there are a lot of ways that other people will try and keep themselves safe, or they'll at least according to themselves, right? So like I think that any of the lefties here would say that Trump supporters are, you know, they're generally like racist, or they have a higher chance of being racist or sexist or, you know, fascist or
they're
any of these
demons
other
from
things.
the bowels of hell.
Yeah, they're
That's
demons
correct.
from the bowels of hell
Every
that are
single one
trying
of
to do like, you know,
These are not things
genocides
I
all
would
over the
say.
place. So like these are the sorts of things I would say, like people sit there and say that they don't think that stereotyping is good, but then they'll like at the same time say something like, yeah, Trump supporters are literally fucking evil, before they even
But
like,
that's supporters of Trump. You have to believe some pretty fucked up shit to support Trump, right? It's
Wait,
sort
I
of
thought you
it
said
sort of
you
goes with the
vote for
territory.
So a stereotype.
well now
you
but like
said-
see,
No,
but you're
no,
stereotyping
No, but
based off
that's
of
the
hold on.
literal definition of being a Trump supporter, is
Oh
being
my
a piece of
God.
shit.
Oh no!
Well, here we go.
You can't
I'm not-
support Trump
and-
without
just-
being a
I'm not-
fucking freak.
Wait,
I'm not
somebody
sitting here and
replay that
defending
intro.
Trump or anything like that, but I'm pointing out, like, even you, like someone who came out super hard against stereotyping at the very beginning, saying that there's almost no way that you could even imagine there being a positive way to stereotype someone. Even you stereotype people, right? It's something that I don't think that we as humans, like, can easily escape just because of the way that we kind of interact with society, right? The way that we interact with our brains and the way that we look at the world. So I don't think that we can easily get away from it. I think that we just have to actively keep it in our mind what we, like our internal biases, one way or another.
Okay. Zonia can respond, and I'm sorry. Durka can respond, and then we can have Zonia go, and then Rose. So.
Okay, just really quick, I just wanted to clarify. It wasn't just based off the two experiences. That's what I was saying. No, stop being so biased. The Ukrainian guys should be fine. Look, you're Ukrainian, and you remember your grandfather? He was great, right? But no, fresh off the boat, very different. And there is a prevalency, and the data is there, and that's why I'm feeling comfortable saying this. And it's not about skin color at all. I don't believe in that at all. I do believe in cultural, you know, things that will warp a person completely. You know, so if they're warped already, I'm not going to save them, and it's not my job to save them and make them treat me nice. I want a guy to already treat me nice.
So am I culturally like let's
You're
not
American.
use Ukraine.
I love you.
Listen, yeah, I know. Yeah, okay. Am I
We'll see.
am I culturally committed to doing crime just because I grew up in a dangerous neighborhood? Or just listening to rap and everything, am I going to like culturally like commit crimes because that's the culture that I live in? So do I just like do crime? Is that your assumption of me?
Yeah.
Like if you ever saw me or anything, that I've committed a crime or something? Because it's like it's really weird to be like, well, fresh off the boat, you know, these guys might be bad, but like that's almost the same as like seeing me and going, well, you know, that black guy, he looks like he's done some like crazy shit, like some real crime. It's like it's the same almost.
You could even use statistics.
I think Zonia needs to go. I can wait.
Yeah, Zonia, please.
Okay, so I want to hit on 2 points. One, kind of on Polly's point. So the sort of like the stereotypes that you hold regarding Trump supporters. Like these are things that I've found that I've been in contentious with, because I know many Trump supporters who voted for Trump because they didn't like Hillary. They didn't like the alternative, right? And so they went Trump. And so there's a lot of people that get caught up in that stereotype that don't fit the stereotype. And I also notice another problem with having that kind of...
What, they just ignore what Trump says? You know, they just don't listen to the racism and the fucking xenophobia?
I feel like we're about to get into this argument.
You gotta let Zonia finish. Let Zonia finish, and then Polly, you can respond since you're being addressed.
And part of the problem with that type of stereotyping, when it becomes sort of like a tribal-based stereotyping, is that oftentimes what happens is those same offenses that people identify in the stereotype of the other tribe are being overlooked and excused within their tribe. Because then you have, like I witness a ton of racism and bigotry and transphobia on the left that we don't ever talk about, because we want to point constantly at, oh, it's the right that does all the racism and bigotry and all that. And so that's the other problem with stereotyping, is it creates this blindness to the same offenses that fit that stereotype that exist within their own tribe. And but then the other thing I kind of want to touch on, and this could be maybe like a side topic that we could move on to a little bit later, but the fresh off the boat thing is something that's been talked about a lot recently in Europe. A lot of the rhetoric in Europe is talking about the people that come from Muslim countries that were primarily refugees being, quote, fresh off the boat, coming into the country, not understanding the culture, and a lot of stereotypes being built up around those people who've come into their societies that have a very strong cultural difference because of the fact that they're new to the culture of that, or the many cultures of those countries that they've moved into. And so I wonder, like, how much of that is based on just the strange sort of like the xenophobia built into not understanding other cultures, or based on actual experiences that they have. Because I feel like it's probably a sort of a dual xenophobia, where it's like you're the alien in the new country, not really understanding, and so you're going to isolate within your group because you don't understand all the stuff going on. You've just been thrust into this new environment, and then you've got all the people who already exist in that environment who just don't understand the new influx of this culture and have and are on guard, not knowing what to do, and mistaking things for slights, mistaking things for, you know, negativity and such, like, because the cultures are so different and they haven't yet melded. They haven't had the time to meld. So that's something we could talk about as well.
We got a lot. Hey, guys, real quick, we got a lot of people wanting to go, which is a great thing. We got to go in order. Let Polly respond, as I said, because she wanted to. And then we got Rose, then Gaytheist, and then Olake. Sorry, I keep saying Olaki. Forgive me. Olake.
I will be very fast and brief, and I will address what you're talking about. It is important to distinguish just basic stereotypes that are like sort of cognitive shortcuts from what we do on the left. That is important, that should not be confused with stereotypes, is pointing out systemic things that affect everybody because they are part of a system. For example, if I say the United States is a white supremacist fucking country, that doesn't, that does mean every American participates in a white supremacist society. That's not a stereotype. It's just facts. If I say all cops are bastards for a reason, that let's sort of enforce this hierarchy that doesn't serve normal people's fucking interests. That's not a stereotype. That's a systemic critique. And that's fine. When I say when I say all Trump supporters are pieces of shit that support a racist, xenophobic piece of shit and vote for a party that disenfranchises all kinds of people based on their marginal status, that is participating in a mechanism that is enforcing racist and xenophobic and queerphobic policies. There's one side of the political spectrum that is queerphobic as fuck, trying to even enshrine it in law. There's another side that's not. So I feel comfortable saying if you vote for Trump, you are a piece of shit. Hey, look, did I fucking say the left was not?
Yeah, you did.
There's
you said one side was not. You said one side was not.
I said one side is trying to enshrine in the law further oppression. One side is perhaps not. Okay. Perhaps they are queerphobic, and they are, but they are not participating. Huh?
Sorry, I'm just saying you need that nuance.
They are not furthering a system. They are not furthering a system in the same way that demonic Republicans are. I mean, how many fucking Democrats out there, how many people on the left are systematically trying to disenfranchise groups of people and write out, like, for example, trans kids out of legislation? Like, it's not, okay, yeah, there's pieces of shit all over the place, but there is one side of the political spectrum that is really, really going hard at it.
Well, hold on. We didn't say one side of the political.
The Democratic Party over the last 20 years and how it's affected marginalized groups.
We got a line, gang. I know everyone wants in. I know, but we got a line.
The problem is that this is the problem with stereotypes, because you've got to take a look. What was going on at the time when you had a choice to vote between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump? What were some of the things that were going on at the time? It was coming out about Hillary Clinton's her party and her promotion of the 1994 crime bill that caused her issues. It was people talking and bringing up her rhetoric about super predators and.
I'm talking about now.
Doesn't matter because it doesn't matter because this is still established party.
I think what Zonya's trying to say is, like, I think what Zonya's.
Yamato, we have to let Rose in. I
was literally just asked to speak. Okay.
Yeah. I'd like to hear from him.
Oh, fine, Yamato, concisely, right? But we have a large panel. I need to get as many people as possible. I promise you, if we let people speak in line in a turn, we will get to everyone. But Yamato, concisely, then Rose, then Gaithias, and Olake.
Yamato, talk as long as you fucking want.
Okay, so I think what Zonya's trying to say is that, like, we have to look backwards in, like, both parties' history, and we can see, like, there are some, like, negative issues that happened on the Democratic Party. There was the whole, like, Obama wearing the what was it the dashiki thing that she tried to do, stuff. There are some negative things that do happen on the Democratic Party. Like, the super predators thing was a big thing that did affect her. But, like, when we're talking about the future, I think we were talking about, like, a little bit of perception, a little bit of, like, what we perceive people to be, because they vote for somebody that may or like do harm.
This is the thing, though. If you have, sorry, I want to pick on this a little bit. If you have let's take a look at this from sort of a perspective of generational harm that's been done, right? When you look back at the voting turnout of the early 90s for the Democratic Party, who voted in the Democrats, it had a large influx of people of color coming out and voting more so than before, significantly more so, for the Democratic Party based on certain promises. What happened after that was then in the introduction of extreme carceral legislation that targeted communities of color, that then created generational setbacks for those communities. You don't think that the people who were there at the time, who promoted all that stuff, that were still there today, that were being voted on, you don't think that they're going to have a question like, hold on, these people betrayed us, these people targeted our communities, impoverished them even more, took fathers away from their families and incarcerated
Nobody's
them.
saying the country's not white supremacist.
You don't think that those people are going to stop?
Republicans
You don't think that those people are going to stop and go, well, maybe I shouldn't vote for Hillary Clinton.
Stop, everyone, stop. I
You're right,
understand.
Tonya.
This is getting heated. I understand, but please, let's try to drive it back to stereotyping.
Well, it is
right?
about stereotyping
It
because
is.
these people are not racist for voting for Trump just because they have been betrayed by the people that they have voted for before who are on the other side. They're not.
Yeah, but Zonia, the same thing could be said for any fucking body that like votes left. They all pedophiles because they vote fucking left. You're not. You're not.
Stereotypes. This
Oh
is
my
why
God.
these stereotypes are blind.
Right.
This is why
Okay.
she's wrong in her stereotype.
Well, the stereotype that is right is that
I think-
all Twitch streamers want to just talk and talk and talk, where we
True.
have some people that need to get in because this is
Sorry.
a panel with more than just 3 people. And I promise you, I'll let some back and forth go, but we want to get more voices in. So, Rose,
There's no
please.
way to make systemic critiques without having it be reduced to a stereotype.
That
Rose,
was a
you changed.
stereotype, though.
Okay, I am so sorry. I had a lot to say. So first of all, as a trans woman, people have a lot of assumptions about me, right? People think I'm this crazy SJW, believes in pronouns and stuff, but I'm clearly not that. That being said, I also acknowledge the reality of the situation that there are a lot of cringy trans people who are actually like that. And while I personally don't like that, that is something that is based in reality. Now, what bothers me is the double standards of it all. For instance, feminists have no problem stereotyping men for being dangerous and more likely to kill and rape you. But if someone uses those exact same stereotypes for Black people or Arab people, etc., somebody has a completely different response. So why is one okay and not the other? They'll both argue that it's based on statistics and reality, so it's actually fine. What bothers me is the hypocrisy in the situation. Either stop being sexist against men or realize that it's actually okay to judge people based on their skin color and culture. I don't see why these two are necessarily different. If you have these stereotypes for Trump supporters and Republicans and call them all pieces and shouldn't dehumanize them, that's fine. But if you're going to partake in that, don't expect me to feel sorry for you when the right calls liberals the same thing. They call people groomers and stuff. They have all these stereotypes, negative stereotypes for liberals. Either it's all okay in my opinion or not okay. And maybe we should evolve from that, try to understand each other better. Let people have stereotypes for liberals. Your argument is used, the same argument used by white supremacists to justify their racism. It's just the facts. It's just observable in nature. 1350, they say that stuff all the time. Anyway, I'll see you in 30 minutes when I'm over.
Nice one, Rose.
That's awesome. Yeah, that was good.
Atheist and Oleg.
All right. So I guess we need some clarification of language here because I feel like we're using stereotypes a lot and we're not really communicating exactly what we mean. So I would say there are 4 different levels of stereotypes. I would say the first one is immutable, as in some basic genetic characteristics, such as like being African American, being male, or hair type, whatever you want. The second level is cultural, as in it refers to maybe your nationality. Again, it's immutable. It's something out of your control, and it's something immutable, but it's not like a genetic trait of you, but it's instead a reference of the society or general culture you come from. For example, that was Durka's stereotype. It was a cultural stereotype. I thought she was kind of just referring to Ukrainian men as genetics, but I think she was specifically talking about the cultural Ukrainian men that come straight to the country, which changes things a little bit. The next level of stereotypes are specifically stereotypes of identity. That's a person can actively choose. It is up to them, but is also kind of cultural and loose. This would be someone saying like, I love America, or someone saying I am a Christian. It is something that they can actively choose to identify as, but it also is not some specific action or call or declaration of something, but instead it's just a general reference of values and ideas. And then finally, you have the most concrete stereotypes, which is stereotypes of actions. As in someone does accounting, therefore I think they do this, this, and this. Someone can lift 350 pounds, therefore I'm thinking this, this, and this. And obviously, the more a stereotype is based on that person's actions, thoughts, and ideas of that individual, the more reliable they can be, right? But the more and more they're based on general conditions, like the idea of like 1350 or Ukrainian men sexually assaulting people, then we kind of get a bad idea of how they act on an individual level. I think that when we're talking about actions as a society, as in the actual pragmatic use, I think the first 2 stereotypes, as in where someone may culturally come from, or the general mutable characteristics they may have, I think it's better and statistically more significant to focus on things that you can observe, right? Because we have to talk about how all cultures have, to some extent, sexual assault. All cultures have crime, murder, and rape, and there's just different percentages. And we're trying to figure out how we can differentiate between peoples. However, The second group of stereotypes, specifically what a person chooses to do and what a person chooses to identify as, has a lot more information because it's completely individual. To give Polly some credit, someone saying they voted for Trump does give a lot more significant idea of what that person is like and how that person thinks than someone just being Ukrainian, someone just being Black, someone just being male. Someone actively identifying as conservative does fall into real categories because that's a choice that that individual person decides to make. And because of that, we can make general statements about that person. Now, obviously, no one person can represent conservatism. No one person can represent any sort of culture or religion. But I do think that we should give the second group, the ones that are based on individual choice, much more credence and belief than we should the first.
Okay, Oleki, please.
Yeah.
Olek.
That's fine, whatever. Yeah. So this is the problem that Sondsol brought up, is that his brain wasn't thinking about it in the right way, where he's going like, oh, what about MAGA people? Yeah, okay, enlightened centrists can have their, fence, sit on the fence and all that kind of crap. But the truth is, when you talk about ideologies that people ascribe to, it comes with things as well, right? It comes with methodologies, it comes with topics, it comes with ideas, right? Being born a man doesn't mean you come with something there, right? Being born Black doesn't mean you come with some predefined set of like, all right, I'm going to be fatherless, whatever. Like, that's not what this means, right? These are stupid ideas. Broadly, ideologies, and I think Gaethia said it very well in general, which is you have to be able to look at the actions that are ascribed to those people. Politics is one of the best places where you can generally make assertions, because both policy, law, and what you stand for are pretty well defined. Like when a white supremacist says, like, I'm a white supremacist, it's pretty easy to stereotype them as not liking Black people. It's not a jump because they ascribe to the belief, they will tell you the belief, and they vote for the belief. So this is why you can't just sit here and be like, well, we don't, those are not stereotyping. When we talk about stereotyping, it truly relies on strict standards normally said by Gaethia very well here, but immutable characteristics generally. Well, when Jerka talked about the idea of, let's say, her, her problem with Ukrainian men, there is some more credence to that because she's generally making an assertion based on evidence and some, cultural factors that can be well understood. But it's also fair.
Can I just add? Sorry, it wasn't a sexual assault. I don't think there's a lot of sexual assault. It's just domestic violence. Assault, sorry, yeah. Well, Gaethia said that, and I don't want people to think my people are rapey. Okay.
Just say it. Men being men.
The point is that I think generally what we would want to say is that, okay, what you probably wouldn't want to do is say, I think when we say that we might consider it stereotyping or bad is when you say, okay, well, I'm just not going to date Ukrainian men based on other men, right? Like, I just don't like Ukrainian men in particular. I think it's fair for you to say that I want to make and take precautions when I'm with men in general, or maybe with a Ukrainian man, because of the things that have happened in the past, or because of what I know about them. Because you may want to decide that, okay, there's something to learn, there's something to be
sure, but I'm going to be more accurate if what I've learned through all my life and the studies that I've seen, that I'm going to throw some of them. I'm not going to give them my time because there's so many men to choose from, and being in Canada, there's so many different cultures. And if you're just Canadian, I'm like, perfect. I don't care your skin color. If you're culturally Canadian, you're going to understand that it's not okay to hit me, and I don't have to go to the police every time or ever. Like it's going to be a better relationship probably. So I don't want to. I honestly don't want to date almost any immigrant unless they're from another like first world country with the same ideologies and beliefs as mine, right?
That's kind of
the definition. Would you be okay with a
but it's for protection? You understand?
Using that same idea, would you be okay with like a business or a local government using that structure? Would you be okay with that? Like a business discriminating on the basis of that fact? Would you be okay with that?
So they're not going to, like, if you're talking specifically about like domestic violence, no, they're not going to care, because that's just not going to influence or affect their company.
We're talking about personal preference, like personal safety, these kinds of things. But one thing I want to kind of point out, though, is that
in Rio de Janeiro, there's a lot of crime, right? So you should be safe when you're there, right? You should generally not walk into an alleyway when you're drunk. But when you see a Brazilian person in New York City or something like that, do you just, walk across the street?
No, of course not. But let's just say there's an area. There's an area, and yeah, this kind of goes to what Yamada was saying, and I would like to address this. So if I go to an area that I know is very poor, and I know there's gang violence, and I know that they have gunshots every night, if I see people who look gang related, and we all know what that looks like, I'm gonna like steer away from them. If I see a guy in a suit or something, I'm not gonna be like, Like, you know, but like, do you see what I mean? If someone looks like a crackhead and they're shaky, I don't want to approve them because I know crackheads.
Gang related look like? Is it like sagging pants or something?
Saggy pants, bandana,
tattoos.
You know.
Yeah, like they're wearing
usual
all red,
suspects.
and then I see this guy with all blue coming. I'm like, oh fuck, I better leave because they're gonna hurt, you know.
You know what? These days, gangs don't often show colors because it gets the attention of the cops. So oftentimes you can't even tell.
Durka, do you actually have any personal experience with gangs, or are you mostly getting this image from media that you've watched?
So I live in Canada, and I live right across co-ops, and they look like condominiums. No, but I have seen a lot of drunks and crackheads, and they will steal your shit. Yes. I'm in one of the worst neighborhoods in my city, and so crackheads is a very good example for me. If someone looks like a crackhead, I'm not going to even give them my lighter because they will steal it, and I'm so mad when that's my only lighter and I can't light my cigarette now.
The problem is that a lot of things kind of get conflated with stereotypes, which is why I kind of pushed you on the, you know, what does a gang member look like? Because this is something that's been used to discriminate against a lot of people, just because like they have a style that has more to do with their.
Hold on, I gotta go talk to my dog. His ears are hurting really badly right now. Sorry, I'll be right back.
Oh, well, I hope they're okay. Go on.
Because there are.
Whistling was so loud.
Okay, so there are people who have adopted a style based on the community that they grew up in and the music that they listened to and the media that they watched and such. But those styles will then often get conflated with some negative aspect of society like gang activity and such. And then people will be discriminated based on just that appearance, even though they have no relation to any kind of gang activity at all. So that's why I wanted to push back on that a little bit. And say, so what does a gang
I'm
member
aware.
look like?
There was even a few friends of mine that looked like that, and that's what once I started being really liberal and being like, I don't care, everyone's great. I came away from my Ukrainian school. I went to a public school, and I met black people. I'm like, yay, and everyone's fine, right? And I had some like thugged out looking friends, so my opinions changed.
I need to, okay. I'll let you finish real quick, Dirk. I'm gonna let you finish.
But I also know what they did, and they did drugs and they dealt stuff. So yes, you know.
Dude.
Okay.
What the fuck?
Wow. I'm gonna let you go next, Sondsol. You're right next. But I do want to also ask the
least racist Ukrainian, I guess.
Add this into things, right? I want to
generalize Ukrainian as racist.
Hey, let me finish, gang. Let me finish. I'll be concise. Okay, I want to add into the mix of the discussion, because we've Gaithias broke down stereotypes very well, right? But how do we overcome stereotypes that we may have learned, right? Like we learned this behavior, right? We, as Durka said, she learned her behavior somehow. But how does she overcome that? How does she get rid of these stereotypes she's had and kind of transcend that and recognize that, hey, maybe it was wrong to do this? I want to kind of drop that in and see what we have to say. Also, because I got paid a lot of money, I have to bring Doobie in too. So I'm sorry.
Yes.
Cool.
I actually bugged him quite a bit to come.
Okay, while you're bringing him in, so there was a lot said there. So I guess like one thing that I definitely want to talk about is Polly said there's no way to make systemic critiques in the way that we're talking about stereotyping. We're not talking about any systems here. I'm not talking about like systemic racism or anything like that. I'm talking specifically about Trump voters, right? And the second thing I wrote down kind of goes into that. Y'all say that the generalized statements based off of people's choices or who they voted for and shit like that is fine because it's not an immutable characteristic. Well, I mean, I don't think that it is necessarily okay. On one hand, we can say that not all Trump supporters are the same because there's a lot of Republicans out there, a lot of Trump supporters that are okay with abortion to some degree or another, right? Some of them are pro-choice, right? So we can't like look at all Republicans and make these like blanket statements about all of them, right? So that's like something that I would bring up. I'd also bring up, if we're going to talk about like choices, would you ever be okay with people stereotyping, people who have problems with addiction, right? Calling them crackheads or meth heads or anything like that. They chose to do that drug in the first place. So is it okay to stereotype them as a bunch of fucking loser,
Drug addict
drug addict freaks that are doing
attaching empathy to it is just fine. Actually, I have one crackhead cat with me right now because I'm trying to he's homeless, right? And I will communicate with the community, but I'm not gonna be stupid enough to let them in my house. They're gonna steal my shit. Yeah.
Okay,
Gatheist, I'm gonna let you finish. Gatheist, you can go next, but we do have a little bit of a line, so we'll go Gatheist, then we'll go to Beckett, who's been with his little hand, and then
I've been really patient. I've been good.
And then
I've been good.
Doobie, you have, and I'm going to reward you. So Gatheist,
I just
would it be
Doobie, and
I just want to
amazingly
point out
impressive for a white man.
would it be fair to call
patient,
Trump
very patient
supporters
for a white man.
racism
Men always
supporters
love
instead
to
of
talk so
racists?
much.
I was
not
just going to say
necessarily.
that I think it's a little bit ironic that when we're talking about choice, we keep on bringing up drugs, which specifically biologically and psychologically reduce choice, reduce someone's ability to actually make decisions and let those decisions actually be representative of who they are. So I don't think that's the fairest example.
I'm only just to clear it up. I'm not saying that it's good to stereotype these people or that we ought to, right? But what I'm trying to point towards is that if we are talking about choices people made, while it might be a physiological and a chemical thing going on in their heads, right? And addiction is a real problem. We shouldn't shun these people and leave them out to die. The initial choice to take these drugs was a choice, right? Unless someone held them down and fucking shot the heroin or the fentanyl into their fucking system, right? I don't think that this a very common type of path that drug addicts go down. Now, I'm just speaking to the choice.
I get that, but again, we could apply this to any choice, right?
Yes.
How descriptive of this of you if you raped someone? How descriptive of this if you murdered someone? How descriptive of this is you if you assaulted someone, right? This is a reduction, because for drugs, there's again a whole bunch of things that we're not talking about, such as exposure to when you were a child, things that don't actually speak to their character, but more speak to the second type of stereotypes, cultural conditions that they had no control and no choice over. So
can you not say the same thing for Trump supporters?
Yeah, they're just racism enthusiasts.
Well,
then in that same line, then all drug addicts are just a bunch of loser crackheads that want to steal all your fucking money and fucking beat you up in the street.
At the end of the day, to get to kind of Sonsol's point here in a little bit of a more clear way, perhaps.
Fascism obvious.
People don't choose what family they're born in, and by and large, your family is the biggest single influencer on what politics you have growing up. It just is.
And which country you're born in. It's not their fault.
Which is why all kids should rebel against their parents.
See, this is kind of the point I want to get to. A lot of
I couldn't do that.
The earlier point of politics being a good denominator of people choosing what they believe. The vast majority of people don't read policy. They don't read manifestos. Most people don't know who their local representative is. They vote in line with the community that they've always voted in line with. This is why voting blocks exist. This is why gerrymandering works.
This is why all the leftists, we would call them morally lucky, right?
Well, yeah, and it's also why the
if
left
you want to
and
be
the
full of
Democrats-
shit
Hold on,
and take no
Can I finish?
responsibility.
Fuck me, I've been so careful to let people speak.
I'm sorry.
Can I just finishing point? Is that okay? So many things with the Democrat left and everything else is talking about it from the perspective, especially within things like Twitch poll, of leftism. But most people are moderate to liberal. And that's not just true in America, that's true of everywhere. On Zonya's point about Europe, the constant point I make about Britain is Britain doesn't have a race problem, Britain has a creed problem. You can be any color you like here, but you have to be British because you have to fit in and you have to integrate. So the problem we're having, say, with immigration and around Brexit is nothing to do with people's races, because we've got a huge population of non-white people, which we've built over a long period of time. And when you look at Indian integration, for example, while there were issues in its early period, it's been really smooth because culturally, because of colonialism, India integrates far easier than, say, Eastern Europe. which was one of the major drivers in Brexit, because despite everyone being white, and actually having kind of similar conservative politics, there are enough cultural differences that causes actual issues. When you come to kind of this stereotype of kind of Trump voters, the vast majority of people who voted for Trump didn't vote for Trump because they were racist. They didn't vote for Trump because they wanted to, I don't know, create some sort of genocidal attack on LGBT people. They voted for Trump because they didn't want to vote for the Democrats. They didn't want to vote for Clinton. They wanted to vote for the kind of economic reforms that they have always voted for. They voted.
Jesus Christ.
These are simple things that we can poll.
They're racism. Excuse us. Yes, please. Yes, please.
Can I make a rebuttal?
Yes,
Becky,
sure.
I'll let you finish, Becky, because you've been interrupted, but I want to make a rebuttal.
All right, are you done?
So yeah, I mean, that's my basic point. You can still say that people, like, for instance, building the wall, for example, you can make arguments that that kind of policy was rooted in racism or prejudice. I'd probably agree.
You could argue that,
but you can argue that. But I mean,
of course.
at
Polly,
the same
the
time,
problem. Okay, you go. I'm getting so triggered.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's like
I know,
I'm trying to have like
No.
I'm trying to be like respectful of like your points, Polly, and you're sat here just anything that's said to you is just immediately dismissed. And then for stereotyping, which is the exact stereotype of a leftist that you're fitting into, you refuse to hear anyone else's points, and the minute anyone brings anything else to you, you laugh at it, or you say something about hearing a dog whistle. I mean, how are we meant to engage you in a conversation if you won't even let us make a point without either interrupting or completely dismissing like sections or snippets of the argument? Like, what do you want us to say to you?
The issue that I have with Polly right now is that, like, I know Polly is smart enough to get through this conversation and understand what we're saying. So that's why it's super aggravating to talk and have her pretend like this isn't.
And I want to hear from Yamato.
Okay, I just want to say,
yes, we've got Yamato, but also Doobie the Frog, who actually,
Okay, final sentence is like, Polly, I haven't like made a statement on whether stereotyping is good or bad yet, right? All I'm doing is like pointing out that I think that everybody does it, and you are showing right now that you also do the stereotyping. You stereotype people just like everything that he just said about Brexit, everything that I've said about Trump people, but it's conditional, right? When I brought up the stereotypes against against addicts, right? Those are bad stereotypes, right? But they are stereotypes that people like look at. At the same time, there are outliers to the sorts of things that you talk about when it comes to Trump supporters. Not every single Trump supporter is some virulent alt-right, like a mega racist that wants to kill trans people, right? But that doesn't mean that you can't say like general trends exist, right? All I'm pointing out is while you're saying that all stereotyping is bad, right? You also do that.
Well, in fairness, what I said was I think it's important to distinguish stereotyping from the systemic critiques that we make on the left. For example, I feel fine saying the average Trump supporter is a piece of shit.
How is the average Trump supporter
Hold on
a
a second, let me fucking answer the question. Listen to me.
Oh, God.
Jesus Christ.
I've spoken twice.
Jesus fucking Christ, dude. Okay, so look. Do you have anything else to say, Sondsol, before I can?
No, I'm going to let you talk. I just said that I've only spoken twice. It's not like I'm interrupting you all the time.
Someone speak, or I'm going to go to Yamato, please.
The problem that we have here is
can we hear Yamato? Because I want to hear Yamato's response to me.
Okay,
if that's okay, because he wants to make
hasn't gone either. Oleg hasn't gone either. Oleg, Yamato, Doobie. Boom.
Exactly. Thank you. Definitions, ideology, they have to mean something. If you say like, oh,
holy shit, did I say something that was like super offensive? I don't know what the fuck the deal is.
Like, nah,
what the
actually,
fuck?
Unless you can prove that 100% of Trump supporters have beaten their wives, you can't say, no, you have to be able to have definitions. That's the point that was made by Gaithius a while ago, where when you make a choice to join a group, to believe in an ideology, there are certain things to attach to it, right? When people say that like Trump supporters tend to be more racist or they believe in racist policies, that sort of stuff, it's because, as you said, Brexit or whatever, they believe in economics. They're going to put this little economic idea on top of all of the other things that might be associated with their group. So conservatives will believe in anti-trans ideologies, anti-black ideologies, anti-Indian ideologies, kicking Pakistani people out, rape gang stuff, all this kind of crap. Now, they can say, yeah, I only voted for the Conservative Party because of this economic issue. The problem is that you'd have to say, well, you are making a choice that you believe in an ideology that puts that economic idea to the forefront of all things, to the negative of, well, I'm just going to generally broadly accept that racist things happen, and I'm going to continue to vote for the people that do the racist stuff. So this is the problem that you have to say, is like an ideology matters because in many ways it prioritizes and lists ideas that are easily consumable for the populace. Now, education is important. We'll ignore that part, but like, yes, some people are born in places where that's all they can ever believe. It's hard to get them out of it. That's why you want to educate people to break them out of that.
Okay, Yamato, Doobie, and thank you for the phone.
Okay, so my rebuttal to Beckett was when we make like general when Polly makes general like statements about like people being evil, it's because the presumption is that you voted for something that's inherently hurting another group of people. So it's okay to perceive them as evil if she wants to. Is it wrong from a stereotype lens? But like as long as you're doing something that is perceived evil, you should be called out or called such. I don't see a problem with it.
Hold on, can I help your point a little bit here, because you're gonna.
Could I fucking? All right, go ahead. Sorry.
I just want to respond because
I'm sorry, dude.
This was my original point. Like I think
I wasn't done.
Sorry.
There was a long pause. Sorry, buddy.
I would assume there was some.
Respond, and then Polly can respond too, apparently, and then Doobie.
Okay, so I would assume that when Brexit happened, the whole leaving the EU thing, there was some people that was against it, and they were talking all types of bullshit about like Boris Johnson and stuff like that. Do you think they don't? Do you think they have the right to criticize or at least be able to call Boris Johnson a scummy piece of shit?
So to this is sort of my original point. It's why I want to let Polly finish, because I don't necessarily. Well, I disagree with her opinion that all Trump voters are racist. I don't think it's a problem for her to say that in some respects, because I think that those sort of stereotypes, if you don't want to associate with those people, are fine. These are really good shorthands sometimes, and we tend to want to build our own in-groups. When it comes to Brexit, for example, I'm very left-wing. I have voted left-wing my whole life, but I'm also a Leave voter. I'm very pro-immigration, but I'm very anti kind of the EU and the way its structure works. I have been since I was like 13. So when Brexit happened, and believe me, before Brexit happened, no one really gave a shit about the EU. A lot of it was to do with internal conservative politics, which is why immigration got brought up so much. But yeah, people immediately made the assumption of, well, if you voted for Brexit, you must be racist, you must be right-wing. And actually, the only thing that happened from that is Labour managed to take that line and destroy their own voting bloc. It's why Labour's been completely eviscerated and we're left with a conservative government that can barely tie its own shoelaces. Because all of Labour's traditional voters got attacked by the politicians who once represented them, who were on national television calling them all racists, and then really surprised when no one voted for them. So in that line, that stereotype has almost decimated our left-wing party because they couldn't get over themselves for 5 minutes. Like, I think it's fine to have these shorthands, especially in these conversations. And I think it's fine to say that Trump voters haven't considered kind of the consequences of their actions. Like the same thing can be said and was said to me in Ireland by some friends. You voted for Brexit, you're a smart guy, but at the same time, did you consider what this would do to Northern Ireland? Do you consider what it would do to the Troubles? And the truth is, no, I didn't. I didn't think enough about it. And there were arguments on both sides, but when we shut it down purely to stereotypes, you lose the ability to actually have conversations. And that can be really fucking dangerous, because then none of us are going to be able to communicate.
Is your critique with me then not what I'm saying, it's how I'm saying it?
My critique with you is that you're using stereotypes while saying stereotypes are bad. Let's listen to what I'm saying. I said, I'm trying to make a systemic critique of people who support Trump, for example, by saying they're all pieces of shit. They support racists. And
okay, if you're unhappy with me saying that they are racist, well, they're racism excusing, or they don't think racism is as important as their tax cuts or some bullshit, which makes them, in my judgment, pieces of shit.
I gotta explain.
But okay,
that's not at all.
Apparently, I've already spoken too long again.
No. I just want to be ultra clear so that we're not talking past each other.
Critique incorrectly. A systemic critique is referring to
Dude, okay, don't interrupt me with a dumb fuck point like that. Okay, look. How would you like me to describe my critique? Who am I talking to? I'm talking to
Gaytheist.
Beckett. No. Don't interrupt me with a dumb fuck point. Beckett.
Okay, what I think is more helpful is
what do you
think?
Say, yeah. How should I speak? Please tell me.
So I think what would be more helpful, and you can speak any way you like. I like the way you speak. I like people who are bombastic. I don't think that's an issue, especially in context of this. But I think if you want to make and actually reach people, it may be more helpful to say that a lot of Trump voters were ignorant of kind of the wider political context. I think a lot of Trump voters were kind of ignorant to kind of what was happening actually in the Republican Party, who were massively actually against Trump. The actual GOP only really sided with him when it was clear that he was going to be their candidate. And finally saying, when it comes to Trump and everything else, there is a section of people who are, you can even use the term useful idiots, but the people, if you want to say that the real dumb fucks, as you put it, or shit people or racist, then we have a term for that for the MAGA community. And I think that means a more specific thing.
You don't think the average Trump voter heard him say, yo, they're not sending their best, they're sending drug dealers, and some I assume are good people? You don't think they heard that?
I actually don't think the average Trump voter, I think they heard that.
You don't think they ever heard his dog whistle shit? Or his straight up racism? You don't think they heard that? The wall?
No, I think
that was just a fucking architectural
Or do you think that maybe they wouldn't? Hold on.
All right. Zonia. So we got to let him finish, but we got to go to Doobie. Doobie's been waiting with his frog self right there, but so we'll let him finish. We got to go to Doobie.
I want to hear from Sondsol though. Okay. Sondsol wants to talk to me. I want to talk to Sondsol. We're friends. No, Sondsol.
There's a list.
Let Sondsol speak.
Go in that fucking order.
Free him
I have one
now.
sentence.
Is it a fucking 10-minute sentence?
No.
We cannot have 10-minute sentences.
Not a 10-minute sentence. I guess do you think that it's more likely that they literally all were sitting there fucking base, Trump hates all fucking immigrants? Or do you think that it's more like, yeah, exactly.
They just discount it, which makes them racism appreciated.
No. Hold on. I think that it's more likely that enough of them were in a media bubble where people were explaining it in a different way, where they were like, oh, so that's what he meant. He didn't mean all Hispanic people were fucking horrible, rapist, murderers, and thieves. He was just talking about the ones that are coming over and selling the drugs to us that gets everyone addicted, right? There's different ways that people interpret things based off of the people that they're around, right? I'm not trying to make excuses for all these people.
Sure, but that's racist.
Pass me the
you know what I mean?
Hey, Doobie,
what you're describing there is just excusing your own racist ideas by adopting talking points, piecemeal. Yes, shut up for a second. Okay,
you are wearing
I'm
blue.
sorry. All right, I'm quiet.
I'm done.
I won't talk now.
I just like to point out that it's been exclusively white people that dominate the conversation here. I want to hear from the people of color.
Go to Doobie. Doobie is next. And then we have Gaytheist, and then we have Rose, and then we have Sondsol. And that's the line. If you want on it, raise your goddamn hands.
Me
and
too.
I'll put you on it. And we'll put you Zonia right next, and I'll lock you after.
Thank you. Geez, so anti-trans.
I'll probably go after. I don't know.
That's very, very wholesome. Thank you for having me on, Wick. So I think the stereotypes that you guys have built up about Trump supporters is a result of a total misunderstanding of their perspective. I think to them, people like Polly are the racists, right? Polly's a racist, just tricked Black Yamato and people like him into believing that her desire to fund programs that make minority communities dependent on the government, incentivize birth out of wedlock, free lifelong criminals that prey on minority communities, and teach Black children that the system is oppressing them, and white children that they're inherently racist. You're the fucking slave keeper of Black Yamato's mind, right? That's what you are to them, right? You are keeping him subservient to you. And you're doing this not because
Wait, what the fuck?
Stop. Not because
Dude,
you hate
that
minorities.
is,
No, I'm not
this
done
is
speaking. I'm not
fucking
done speaking.
insane.
I'm not done speaking.
Yeah.
You're doing this
All right.
because, not because
You're a
you
piece
hate
of shit,
minorities.
dude.
That's cool. Not because you hate minorities, but because you see them as less capable pets that you can milk for virtue points and votes. That's what conservatives think of you. Right? So
Fuck
to say that,
this
hey,
guy, dude.
they're all
Yeah.
racist for voting for Trump. No, they think you're the fucking racist. You're just totally misunderstanding their perspective. Right? I think that it's
stand by my case by this.
That's cool. I think it's only
right
useful.
there.
It's only useful to build these stupid caricatures about people from either side if what you're attempting to do is dehumanize your political opponents and stoke outrage in your fans. Like, clearly, I don't think I think it's totally irresponsible. I don't think it's useful to the discourse at all. And I think you're forgetting that Trump got more Hispanic and black votes than any Republican president in history, even with all those things you call dog whistles, right? And many of those black and brown people voted for him because they think you're the fucking racist, obsessed with the guilt that you feel about your skin color, right? That's why, right? So all that being said, I think what Derek was pointing to earlier, which is way more interesting, I think, is cultural differences and the realities that come from those cultural differences, right? So you can look to Germany, where after the refugee crisis, because Germany has like mixed pools, right, public pools, they had issues with recent refugees and migrants grabbing German women in bathing suits, thinking that, hey, because her ass is out, that means that I can touch it and grab it and pinch it and shit. So they had to make pamphlets to reinforce their cultural standard that just because somebody's ass is out doesn't mean you can fucking grab it. Right? There are cultural issues.
Why do you have to use me as an example?
Because you're here, Black Meadow. I love you, but that's the reality, okay? Now, I think it's totally fine to come to like certain call like a prejudice, right? You're prejudging a person based on the culture that you're aware they come from, and because you're aware of some things about that culture that you might think are negative, you're gonna like come to an assessment about them before you've learned about them as an individual. I think it's totally fine. I think we do this in all aspects of life. And I really don't understand why you guys have an issue with that.
I think I'm next on the queue.
You are.
Least racist Trump supporter. Thank you.
So,
Name a single thing I said of those fucking racists, you actual baboon.
All of you, everyone stop talking, because I'm going to have to be a little more firm than I normally am. I'm liking the energy, but I am going to have to move this fucking along. And so if you continue, anyone who does this, if you continue to interrupt and speak out of turn, we will mute you until it is your turn. That is your warning to everyone on here. Gaithius, then Rose, then Oleg, then Zonia, then Durka. That is the
so.
Go ahead.
I would like to kind of come in here though, like, no, I'm not like Polly in the sense where I would associate like all Trump supporters as racist. I wouldn't go that far. But I do think there is use and I do think there is meaning in that decision. And I do think that is useful as a political conversation for us to have. I think the thing that you forget to mention, Doobie, is that there's a reality. Like, people are in reality getting hard. I don't care what Trump supporters think. I care about what is actually factually occurring. I don't care what they think of me. I care about the actual measurable physical impact of what I am doing and the policies that I am passing. So they can think that I'm the racist or Paul the racist or Yamato is the racist / token all day and all night long. The question is, why are their policies doing what their policies are doing, and why do they support it? And I think from that analysis, I think from that evidence, we can make meaningful conclusions about how these people think as a general. But obviously, like Zonia said multiple times, there's always nuance. You can get in huge diversity when it comes to Trump supporters, what they support, their history. And like you said, there are obviously Black Trump supporters and Hispanic Trump supporters. But again, when we speak in generalities, 90% of Black people voted against Trump and a supermajority of Hispanics voted against Trump. So again, there is actual meaning and a measurable meaning behind, again, what political party or what policies people are identifying with. But again, I'm not saying we should go as far as to just label everyone as like a bigot or something.
Yeah, obviously there's like a reality, right? But I think that can I respond, Wick?
Yes, you can respond. Then we got Rose. Then we got Oleg. Oleg. I said it right that time. Then Zonia. Then Durka.
Okay, so obviously there's a reality, but I think you're going to find disagreement as to what the reality is, first off, and what things are causing this reality to be reality, i.e., conservatives might point to Chicago and be like, hey, you have leftists in charge here pushing very progressive policies, right? And still they have a high crime rate to the point the fucking bears are leaving Chicago now, right? They might point to San Francisco, where they have leftists in charge and businesses are closing because communities that are majority brown and Black are being victimized by shoplifters, and now they don't have their fucking Walgreens anymore because Walgreens doesn't want to be there, right? So they might point to the fact that, in some Some
Do you see what I
cities,
mean about these
some
freaks?
parts of some parts of the United States, some cities.
You can't look. I'll mute you to turn, Polly, and raise your hand when you're ready for your turn.
More black babies are aborted than are born, right? And because they think that this is baby murdering, they think murdering black babies is a bad thing, right? So, yeah, I think you need to consider their perspective, right? And they might say, hey, well, yeah, we care about these families, but you're incentivizing the father not to be in the home. You're incentivizing, these children to be on the streets. You're dismissing criminal behavior. You're setting lifelong criminals free onto the streets. You're getting rid of bail, like cash bail, so that they get out early and they go and commit more crimes, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And these are all people that are preying on these communities. So they're going to disagree with you, right? That's the point, right? So yeah, there's a reality, but that's so like what the reality actually is and where it's coming from. Like, there's going to be massive disagreement, and that's where I think that's pretty obviously like where these political perspectives come from, right? So if you think that it's more, the result of the systemic racism, white supremacy, and more needs to be done to give to these communities, et cetera, maybe you're more on the Democrat side. If you think that this is all about personal responsibility and culture, and that actually it's government policies coming in and incentivizing bad behavior that's hurting these communities, then maybe you're more on the conservative side. Right, but I don't think it's reasonable to call any of that racist.
Okay, Rose, we lost one, gang. We lost one when I put down the hammer. If you can't control yourself, you will be controlled. That's just how it is. I'm sorry we had to do that, but it is what she's welcome back. If you're out there, Polly, and you're listening, you're welcome back. This isn't a personal thing. But again, if you speak out and you interrupt, if you want to respond, that's fine. Let me know, right? I'll give you time to respond. But
I don't understand why I was using as an example.
I will do it to you too.
That's fine. That's fine. I don't understand why I was using it as an example twice. But two different people.
We will get to you, Yamato. I promise. But we have to move on. Rose, it is your turn.
He's the ones we love the most, Yamato.
It was literally because you're black and you're here. Okay, that's literally.
Gang,
sorry. I love you.
I promise you.
Oh my god. Yeah, a lot of crazy stuff's been going on.
Wait, so did Polly rage quit?
I just want to respond on a few things. First of all, are Trump supporters racist? Personally, I think that Trump was able to brilliantly say what he did in a way that it could be interpreted by people in different ways, and I think that was intentional. For instance, one group of people, the more racist side of his support base that exists, it's not all Trump supporters, but the more vocal group, right? They're going to hear what he said, and they're going to be like, yeah, Trump is based on Hispanics. He agrees. I'm so glad. Well, as another group is going to be like, wow, I'm so glad that somebody's not afraid to talk about the drug smuggling across the border.
I don't think he kicked her because he seemed surprised that we lost one. I think he just muted her.
People. He's saying that Hispanic people are good. He's just against the illegal immigrants doing bad things. How could people call him racist? People are delusional, right? He could appeal to both these groups at the same time. There's even Hispanics that vote for him that like it, what he said, because he's like, oh, well, these drug smuggling immigrants make Hispanic people look bad anyway. They don't represent us. So they see themselves as completely separate from these people. He's able to appeal to all these different groups of people while saying something vague enough.
Yeah, I think that meant that he was going to mute her, and I think that's what happened. He muted her and she left.
It really just depends on, are the stereotypes worth stopping? And it really just depends on how accurate they are or they might be. Obviously, there are some stereotypes that are no longer accurate, and if that is the case, and we see the reality is vastly different from what the stereotypes have taught us, then I think it's important to adjust our behavior accordingly and to move on from this. However, there are stereotypes that are accurate, and to ignore those, I think, is a problem. I think we shouldn't be so delusional to just think that all stereotypes are bad. Some of them are good and have a useful social utility to protect us in certain instances.
Okay, Zonia, then Oleg, and then Durka.
Oleg was next. I was after Zonia.
Fair enough. Oleg, Zonia, then Durka.
Thank you so much. Yeah. So the problem you have, Doobie, with a lot of what you're talking about is, one, you're just referencing the fact that people are uneducated or don't have understanding of reality, and so therefore they have constructed a reality where then they can call people racist or whatever they want. I think that's kind of the problem here. When we talked about stereotyping to begin with, how do you break down stereotyping? That's what was sort of put in the prompt, and I think that that's the point here, is that you need to be able to you need to be able to have empirical facts that show something. You need to be able to talk to those communities. You need to be able to understand them. If you tell me that, black people don't like, black people are going to be mad or something, well, no, they didn't. They voted for Democrats in general, right? They tend to vote for Democrats over and over again. There seems to be some belief among the broader black community that, well, conservative policies, regardless of what the white boys think, it's just not working. It just doesn't help them, right? That's kind of the theory we have to think about. Now, generally speaking, if we're looking at this, we have to say, well, you need to determine and use evidence to sort of validate these beliefs. If you just sit there and you live in an alternative facts world, which Donald Trump is really good at, sure, and it's great, and conservative echo chambers are really good at doing this, so let's all admit, right? Even leftist online Twitter can be the same exact thing, where you don't actually look at evidence. Sure, you'll never really understand where you're going to go. You'll never really be able to break out of the loop. But it doesn't change the fact that when you think about the stereotype, or when we think about breaking out of stereotypes, it's going to come from that, where there has to be shared reality, shared facts, shared understanding of the world itself. And that's kind of been the problem that many people will say with conservatism generally, or how it exists today. I would say not just generally, but just how it exists in today's implementation, which is rather than contend with the fact that a thing might be racist or that their policies are more racist than, let's say, democratic policies are, they'll just say, no, actually, I'm only going to focus on this evidence here. We're going to ignore black people. We're just not going to talk to them. We might find maybe 1 or 2 black people that agree with us, and we'll use them as a shining example of all black people. And then they move on. And so that's how you have to break it down. I mean, I'm kind of glad you did bring it up, Tubi, because it highlights to us the fact that, yes, if under your definition, then sure, just make up your own facts, and then nobody can ever stereotype, and you can stereotype however you want to do. Oh, yeah, I met an Asian person, and he was smart, so therefore all Asians are smart because, you know, I talked to that Asian person, and hey, he was smart. He said he was smart. And he said all Asians are smart. So I think that that's the point here. The only way to break out of it is to start with education and really trying to find a shared set of empirical facts that we believe in.
But the empirical facts is that Asian people are smarter.
Durka?
So
they're not.
So we got to go to Zonia, and then it's your turn.
a lot of
Exactly.
stupid
it's a joke, but
Yeah, no, I know.
It's not sure.
Zonia, please.
Yeah, so first, just as a quick little thing here, I want to point out that this anti-free speech platform silenced a trans woman. So I want to point that out by a white cis male. And this is something like I can't believe this.
On Bezos, on Bezos right now, I will
justice for
destroy
Polly.
all of you.
I would like to point out, though, but the part of what I like about Polly is that she's very fiery. So she's got a lot of commentary, a lot of reactions. Maybe something that everybody can do is kind of put themselves on push to talk, you know, because some people will have the reactions like, oh, shit, or oh, brother, what the hell's going on? You know, and you don't want that to bleed through. Just go on push to talk, and that kind of helps clean up the air here. Otherwise, on to my point, Oleg actually took a lot of my points. So, you know, screw you, Oleg.
Sorry.
But I did want to push back on what Polly was saying about her stereotyping, because this is something that I think is, I know I said a little bit about this earlier, but I want to stress it a little bit more and go into a little more detail on it. We have this big problem that I identified with a lot of the left rhetoric around people who voted for Trump, was that it is dismissing why it is that a lot of people voted for Trump, because of the stereotypes that they then put across them, and basically said, well, they're a bunch of racists, they're a bunch of bigots and misogynists and all these different things, xenophobes, etc. And that basically covers up why it is that so many people had voted for Trump, especially why so many people who had previously voted for Obama switched and voted for Trump. So instead of actually trying to understand the underlying issues, understand why it is that happened, just this label gets applied to them and they're wholesale dismissed. And so this is why I wanted to push back on that type of stereotyping, because it effectively just lumps all the people who had reasons to not vote for Obama, or not vote for the Democrats that time around, but previously have voted for Obama. It sweeps all that under the rug. It pretends that there wasn't a reason for it, and instead just lumps them together with this dismissal of they must be racists and bigots and all that other shit. And that's what I really wanted to push back on. That is a harmful stereotype. It's a toxic stereotype. It has nothing to do with systemic issues. It actually has to do with completely ignoring systemic issues. That's the problem with it.
Yeah, Oleg, since you were addressed, you can respond, and then Durka.
The problem you have to say, Zonia, in this case is that, okay, so we often use different distinguishing tools to figure this one out, right? One would be, okay, well then how would you define the difference between a racist Trump supporter and a non-racist Trump supporter? By action and by outcome? No, they're the same thing, right? Racist policies get passed, they seem to be okay with it, they voted for him again. You know, you have to look at what the outcome is, and that's the problem we have here.
If they voted for him again, a lot of them didn't.
Many of them didn't, and they proved through that they weren't Trump supporters, right? Because then they didn't vote for him.
Well,
that's
no,
kind of the
no,
argument.
not Trump supporters. That they weren't okay with the policies that Trump enacted.
Yeah. So okay. Okay. So,
Because people aren't necessarily voting for Trump just because he's Trump or just because he's racist. They're voting for him. A lot of the people who previously voted for Obama, who didn't vote for Hillary Clinton, voted for Trump because of what Hillary Clinton represented, and that also because of many systemic issues that they observed did not get resolved by the previous Democratic administration.
Yes, many millions of people did, and then hundreds of millions of people voted for Trump because they liked the dog whistling. They liked that he eats tacos.
Hundreds of million? Hang on. How many?
Close to 100 million, right? Let's say 70 million or whatever it was. Yeah. The problem we're saying is that the numbers as you're referencing them are not the same, right? When you reference a couple million people that have switched and that do the centricity thing where they jump between fences and all that.
It was like
yeah,
20%
okay, cool. 20%. Yeah, 20%, great.
That's
and then
a huge number.
And then the 80% that proceeded to vote based around standard conservative principles that highlight racism, that tend to push based around like economic policy above all other things, that kind of stuff. Of course, then you can make
you got to split economic policy from racism, by the way. And a lot of people who are voting conservative are oftentimes voting along the lines of like vote red no matter who, just like a lot of people who lean left will vote blue no matter who. So you have to then divide
why
that
do
further.
They vote blue no matter who? The answer is why do they do that? See, a person who says I vote blue no matter who is because, let's say, I don't want to see trans people be genocided, or let's argue that's a theory.
Usually because they don't want conservatives in office, or they don't want Republicans in office.
Because conservatives do something. It's not that you don't want conservatives in office.
You can apply the same kind
people
of logic.
have ideologies. What you're telling me right now is that literally every single time you talk to somebody, you cannot make any assertion about what they believe broadly, without, even though evidence might show otherwise.
True, actually, you have to get to know somebody. So, can I ask, like, how often you interact with conservatives? Just as an
many
anecdotal?
times. My family is conservative. I live in Virginia, good old-fashioned Virginia right here. So I know a lot of conservatives. All right.
So you know a lot of conservatives that aren't just voting red because they're racist, right?
They vote for policies that are racist, and they don't seem to care about those facts in general. So if presented with opportunities to say, well, what do you present as your main point for voting? They'll say like, Mexicans outsourcing jobs, I want to have good old-fashioned American jobs, that kind of stuff.
So you're sure about that? Because
this is anecdotal, but the point that we're making here is very simple, which is that
because I know we got a line, gang. We got a line. This is good back and forth. I'm liking it, but we got to get more people in there. They're just staring at you.
There's a reason why. There's a reason why. Okay, I just want to say one last thing.
I'll put you in a cage match. 5 subs to the chat. Anyone can give them 5 subs to the chat, and I'll let you guys go for another 5 minutes.
Do you mind if I just say one last sentence here? Because let's let other people do it. Parties, ideology exists for a reason. Okay, if you're too uneducated to read into it or understand it, then you should still be tarred with that brush. That's the point, right?
Okay.
This isn't like you're black, you believe a thing.
I fully disagree with that.
Okay.
We got Durka, then we got Gaithius and Doobie, then Yamato, Sondsol, and Beckett.
Oh,
I have. Okay.
I'll pass off because I want to talk more
the
about the cultural ones.
Rose,
yeah.
At the end of the line.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Okay.
Well, Rose, so I guess I'm next. Rose may be able to speak sooner because I'm responding to her points. I just want to come in and say, like, what you were defining right there with Donald Trump and those different interpretations is, like, by definition, a dog whistle. Like, and by definition, entertaining racism is enabling it, which makes it racist, right? When we are having this conversation about stereotypes, right? We shouldn't just stop the ones that are the least accurate. It's not about accuracy, it's about harm. And what history suggests the most is that the stereotypes that are based not on what policy you support, not with what party you're with,
so fucking
or
triggered
not
about
with what actions you make, but on
turn
immutable
taking.
characteristics, things you cannot change, things that do not in any way, shape, or form give any real signal about the content of your individual character. Those are the things in the types of stereotypes that we should break down, even if they are decently accurate, because we can end up creating a loop. We can end up creating a sort of cycle that supports itself. For example, Black people, just through this one specific period of time, committed a lot of murders. And then therefore we take away a lot of the money that would naturally went to schooling and other forms of social networks, social safety nets, sorry, not social networks, and put it towards policing. And that reinforces a lack of education, a lack of available opportunity, and so on and so on. And therefore the stereotype and the policies and actions that come as a consequence, not just the idea, but the actions, are harmful, right? And that would be, again, like a systemic critique of the way that stereotypes are influencing us. And the actual way to stop it is just to say, once again, there just is no connection, right? Immutable characteristics can't actually be used to make predictions because they have nothing to do with actual predictions, right? It's the difference between causation and correlation. There's nothing about Black genetics that lead them to crime, rape, or anything, just like there's nothing about Ukrainian genetics, right? But when we take in the context of where people are raised, the finances, the culture, and things such as that through an actual causational lens, not correlation of style, but an actual causational lens of what is causing gang activity or what is causing increased sexual assaults, that are the stereotypes that we can kind of deal with and just have to live with, not the ones that are just based on general ideas or general associations.
So we got. Are you sure you want to pass your turn, Durka? It's going to
Well,
be a while.
I was kind of going to say there. No, never mind.
Okay. It's going to be a while.
Yeah,
Doobie, Yamato, Sondsol, Beckett, Rose.
Oh, was it me first? Did I hear that right? Was it me first?
Yep. Doobie, Yamato, Sondsol, Beckett,
cool.
Rose.
That's useful. So, Gaithius, you said, immutable characteristics really tell you nothing about an individual's character, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm kind of curious as to like how far you take that. Right. So if there's a woman in NYC at night and she's walking down an alley and a guy just walking toward her from the other end of the alley, just in her direction, would it be wrong for her to like turn and walk out to try to get out of that situation, like before he gets to her?
So what I'm going to tell you is that woman knows nothing about that person's genetics. She's making an assumption based off of physical characteristics that she is seeing. And then she is associating that with a culture of what the men in her area may have been exposed to and says like, oh shit, let me get out of here. But like in general, if I was to make a statement about, let's say, I don't know, like a workplace or any sort of school, we would never like accept them just automatically assuming.
Yeah, but I'm not talking about a workplace or a school. I'm talking about, you're out at night alone, you're a woman, and some dude's walking toward you. Do you get to cross the street or walk out of the alley without being an asshole?
Yeah, evidence. There's evidence-based. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. But then why are people calling me an asshole for just assuming that some man is going to be, rapey?
I'm saying that the reason this person is making the decision is not because they believe that something about an XY chromosome is like. True.
So I mean, we know that in the same situation, it'd be very strange to assume a woman would like cross the street to avoid another woman, right? Or like walk out of the alley to avoid another woman. She's doing it because it's a man.
Literally because it's men.
Because they're because most rapes, sexual assaults, etc., are committed by men. That's just the fact.
So again, we need context, right? First, when you say man, you're implying a sexuality of attraction to women. I think every woman I would meet would agree that they would rather be on the same street as a gay man than as a lesbian. And the statistics supports this, that a woman is more likely to be sexually assaulted or just.
Is that
yes?
Can you repeat that? No, I just want to make sure I heard correctly, please, Gaithia. So what you said, this is what I heard you said, and if I misheard, please tell me that. You think that most women, right, would rather be on the same side of the street as a gay man than a lesbian? Is that what
if their specific purpose is trying to avoid sexual assault or rape? Yes.
Wait, then a woman? So then a gay man?
Then a lesbian.
How would they know either way? First off, right? So they don't know either way. They don't know those people as individuals. So they're making an assumption based on a stereotype about men.
That's my entire point, right? When you're saying men, you're taking an implication of asexuality. You're not saying XY chromosome. You're saying I'm taking an implication that people with that chromosomal lineup tend to be sexually attracted towards women, and that those groups of people tend to have the desire or the ever conditions to rape / sexually assault women. I'm correcting the idea that there's something inherently male that we are discussing, but instead it's a statement about heterosexuality, and that's just very statistically likely because we don't have information on that person's sexuality.
Okay, so given that the vast, like over 95% of men are like straight, right, like heterosexual, right? So given that's the case, and given that like that 95% of men commits like 99% of the murders, the rapes in the country, right? Like, why wouldn't we assume that that it's totally fine for her to not just assume that he might attack her if she comes near he comes near her, but also that he's straight. He's a straight dude, like most dudes in the country. Like, yeah. Why is it wrong for her to stereotype that way?
I specifically said there's nothing wrong with that because there is
okay. So we agree.
There's an absence of information. I'm saying that stereotype is not based on any sort of causation of male, right? This has nothing to do with XY versus XX.
I'm going to interject
here. Absolutely, yes.
I'm going to interject here. Just real quick, if I may interject, just real quick, right? So when you see someone coming down the street, I cannot tell whether they're gay, straight, anything about them. And so in the scenario here, what does this have to do with it? I'm just trying to... I'm wondering why we are here. I'm trying to figure it out.
So when I was
trying to soften
earlier, I was specifically talking about using causation when we're thinking of stereotypes and not just correlation. When we talk about causes such as like an enhanced build and therefore an enhanced ability to like physically take over you, that's what I'm thinking behind the inherent logic here. That there is a sexual attraction, A, and that this person is stronger than you. That's the main point. Because A, if this person was weaker than you, most people wouldn't like care. Or B, if this person was a homosexual, most people, again, like wouldn't think, because those two statistics drastically decrease your chances of being sexually assaulted or raped to cause any sort of change in your behavior. But when we talk about like being male, that is just neither of those things. You can be a weak male, you can be a weak man, you can be a gay man. I'm just saying the actual cause here is something correlated with being a man, not actually cause. That's just my point.
Look, I'll let you respond, Dibby, but then I want to move on because I don't. Okay.
So I'm wondering if you're okay with that. I'm wondering why you're not okay with extending that a little bit. So in New York City, where like 90% of the rapes and murders every year, in any given year, going back like decades, are committed by Black and brown men. And so if a woman is at night on the street in New York City and by herself, and then on one side of the street she's got a Black man walking toward her, on the other side there's a white man walking in that direction, what would be wrong with her crossing the street to the side of the white guy?
The stats actually don't show that. The stats actually show that
true.
Most rapes that Black men do are actually, on other Black people. There is.
I never said anything about this woman's race. First off,
the point we're saying is if you think about what that, you have to add the context to it. That's the point here. Is that when you
so she's a Black woman. Can she cross the street to the white guy?
Yeah, she can do that. I don't know if that would help, because if that Black guy is in that community, the statistic kind of falls apart, because then that Black guy is raised in similar socioeconomic conditions. But like, yeah,
we're going off on so many.
The point is, are you talking about stereotyping now, or are you trying to implement statistics?
We are expanding this way past the scope of the discussion.
Control in the room.
In both those situations, I included this, like the fact that the vast majority of rapes and murders in the country are committed by men. But in this, and you guys were okay with her making some kind of like judgment about that based on the stereotype. In this next one, you guys seem to have an issue with her taking the fact that about 90% of rapes and murders in any given year in New York City are committed by Black and brown men. You seem to have an issue with her taking that fact, that statistic, and using it to make some kind of like prejudgment about this person she doesn't know.
So
why?
The reason I have a problem is because those statistics have no context. Like when you're talking about this person walking down the street, if we were to actually take a large
Yamato, put yourself on push to talk, please.
If we were actually to take like a whole bunch of women like just walking down the street and they saw both a white and a black guy, that's a lot of implications on where she is. You're putting in a lot of information there that you're not actually accounting for. You're saying, oh, you're uncomfortable with race. No, you're implying a lot of things. Because in these cases, if there is a white guy in that community, chances are he's going to have an increased chance of rape too. But the reason your statistic doesn't reflect that is because most white people are in different areas than the actual colored people. So we could say if it was just entirely based on location, your statistic wouldn't account for that because white people can be in disproportionately different places. And that's my fundamental problem here. That's why I said causation.
I don't think that's a fundamental problem. I think you've been bent. Oh, God.
Hey, we gotta move on. I'm getting this back and forth. I think we're looping now. We gotta move on. Yamato, Sondsol, Beckett, Rose.
I don't know. Like, if you could say that, like, if I'm walking down the street by myself, like, and at night, like someone would a woman would walk across the street, but like probably because she would assume that I would like rape, but like most times it's simply because I'm black and it's nighttime. Let's not like do that. Most times it's just because the person is black.
That's what you feel.
Yeah,
like, have you ever approached like them and asked them why did you cross the street? Because
chased them down after they ran away.
Yeah. Why would I do that? Why would I do that?
Why you're running?
Hey,
Like,
bitch, you
Come
scared
back
me?
here,
Okay,
you fucking racist bitch!
Hey, careful with the
Okay, that's
gender
awesome.
stuff. But,
True.
you know how terrible that would be.
Yamato,
okay,
Yamato,
sorry.
finish your point,
Local
and then we
black
gotta
man
go.
chases down like white woman asking like that would literally become like fucking like meme.
Okay. My point is that you're making a judgment now as to why they're doing it. Maybe they're not. Maybe it's just because you're a guy. Because I would do it with white guys, depending on
No,
how
it's
sketchy the
just that
situation
like
is.
it's just that like there is like
That's a great point.
those are like there are like preconceived notions about like a particular type of person.
Right.
and,
So you
like,
think
that
she's
people just go
racist
off
because
of.
she doesn't want to get raped by a man.
No,
you said
I
it,
think
though. You
she's
said
raped.
based on the sketchiness of the situation, right? Like, okay, at 2 p.m. on a crowded street, if there's a black guy walking to you, you wouldn't want to walk away.
No,
but if it
not at
was
all.
2 a.m. and you were intoxicated
Alone
potentially,
yeah, right.
but
Yeah.
that's but you might
Yeah,
probably
but
do
in
that if it was a
my
white guy
head-
as well, right?
Right,
probably
exactly.
I would
So
wanna
it doesn't
avoid
have
that.
to be because you're black.
Yeah.
I'm just
Yeah.
trying to say
Yeah,
this
but
because
in my
I hope you
head-
don't feel like everyone
no,
hates you 'cause you're black.
no, but like no,
Maybe.
but
They hate
in
you
my
'cause you're a
head, like in her head, yes, that could be her perceived notion. But to me, it's just that she sees me, I'm black, right? And the first thing that doesn't come to my mind is, holy shit, she's probably afraid that like I might rape her or some shit like that. Is that I'm black, it's dark, and she's probably afraid. So I've already had this preconceived notion that she's a fucking racist. While
Right,
she's
because
racist about her
that's what
personal
I'm
self.
getting. No, but that's what I'm getting at. It
my
might not have anything
fucking
to do
God.
with your
Can-
race.
No, I'm saying from her perspective, it does not have anything to do with her race. But my perspective, it would seem that way.
Yeah,
Like,
but if
what
you
do you-
know
what do you-
her
anyone's
race-
contesting that.
Stop.
Oh
So,
my! Are
Yamato,
you?
Yamato, is that a form of stereotyping? What she's doing?
Yes.
Okay.
That's what I'm getting at. Yeah.
Then we're gonna
Stereotyping.
go-
Oh my God! Like,
It's
what
not
are you
good.
not understanding here? Like, why is it so hard for
No,
you to fucking
I
understand?
think we understand. It's not a matter
It's
of.
just-
I think that what the issue is here is that we're kind of like expanding the. I'm sorry. Am I talking out of turn? I don't remember what the
No,
order was.
It's you're absolutely next. Go
All right,
ahead.
cool. Okay, I don't think that like anyone doesn't understand what's going on here. All right, I think that right now we're talking past each other. This conversation is like branched out into like something that I think is a little bit outside of the scope of the original topic, but I'm fine with that. I think that if you're walking down the street, right, and you're a black dude and you see a white woman like cross the street, right? There's one of two reasons she crosses the street. It's either because you're black or because you're a dude. It could be because like of both of those things, right? And one could override the other or what the fuck ever. But like I don't think that anyone's not understanding what you're saying right there, right? I think that this this conversation has been so fucked up because I think that we're trying to like pull things into these like wide systemic issues about like what groups are racist and what groups aren't racist. But like, again, for all the people that said that stereotyping is bad, like you guys are stereotyping, like you have been this entire panel, and that's fucking insane to me. How there's like a lack of what's the word I'm looking for?
Awareness.
Self-awareness. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like this is my issue. No one's born into a vacuum, right? Where they can make like perfectly rational choices outside of the area that they were raised in, right? And oftentimes, like a lot of people are scared to, branch out into other kinds of ideology because they absolutely will get like excommunicated. I think most of the people in this panel and in general online that are leftists and crusaders for like racial justice, I think they're morally lucky. Most of the time these people are born into very, very liberal cities. These people are born into situations where their family is not very racist or very anti-racist or whatever the term we want to use is. And I don't think that these people are just intrinsically better people than someone who voted for Trump or anything like that, right? Again, like you guys were saying, it is contextual. What time of day is it when the woman crosses the street? Why, does it have to do with race? Like, it is very, very contextual. And I think that taking these contexts into account is something that we can like actually try to fix some of the issues that we have if we can recognize it. But if we don't recognize like where someone comes from, if we don't recognize why someone might have voted Trump outside of them just like being okay with racism and they hate Hispanic people or what the fuck ever, right? You can like, there's almost certainly a lot of Trump supporters that probably have some really negative views about Hispanic people, but again, it's not going to be the entire group of people that we're talking about.
Okay.
Can I just sit back up?
No, Doobie.
No, I want to fight someone, Wick. Let him respond.
You want to fight someone, right? But I don't think you want to fight Doobie, do you?
I'll fight anyone.
Yeah, no, let him fight Doobie. Do you know what? Do you know what? Fuck it. Sonsol's been like, I love Sondsol. I agreed with him all through the panel and Zonya. Let him fight Doobie because that's always fun. And Doobie's.
Well, I don't know if Doobie's actually going to disagree with me or not. So.
Doobie's, of course, he's going to disagree.
I will say this before Beckett, if you're ceding your time, I'll let you. But I will say this first, that one of the reasons I did bring the people I brought on, some of them, is because, again, what is stereotyping? Is it okay? And the fact that everyone here, me included, has been stereotyping this entire night to one degree or another is just true. Now, we can say that some of it's bad, and we shouldn't. Gaithius broke it down pretty well. Immutable characteristics, bad. But when we stereotype based on past behaviors and things like that, of say we run into a bunch of Twitch streamers who won't shut the fuck up when I tell them to on a panel. And I know if I have a panel, they're probably not going to shut the fuck up. But that's not an immutable character. Fuck it, go.
I will, okay, so I'll say, like, again, agreeing with Sondsol, this is why I said at the beginning, like, we all use stereotypes. Some of them are going to be really useful. Some of them are going to be reinforced during this panel. I think they definitely have been. From the perspective of kind of the arguing past each other, yeah, we all have been doing that to an extent, but that's because this conversation's really hard. I know that there's a general feeling that stereotypes are bad. This goes along with the whole kind of push from the kind of left-wing academia that unconscious bias is really dangerous, it's terrible, blah, blah, blah. But the truth is, we do these things naturally because we're human. They're really hard to get away from. And whatever sort of, however morally lucky you are, you're going to keep doing it because these are sort of how humans work. Like from the question that Wick threw in of how you do deal with this, how do we actually break these things down? Well, actually, the answer is pretty obvious. It's integration. It's why these things start mattering less and less. The less integrated you are, or the longer you've got sort of like historic problems with a group. So, for instance, take the British and the French. Despite the fact that we're probably the closest allied neighbors, we're the closest economic allied neighbors within the EU, militarily allied, we still have probably the strongest stereotypes about each other's nations, and the strongest sort of dislike generally based on those stereotypes. Whereas countries that we kind of haven't been around as long, for instance, Germany, we have stereotypes about them, but they're much less strong and they're much less derogatory. And that's true of Scandinavia, for example, as well, and the Netherlands. Like, at the same time, stereotypes are going to develop because naturally we take tribal sides in communities, whether you're talking about the fact that certain religious groups or cultural groups that exist within societies are going to segment themselves off. Stereotypes are sort of unavoidable. It's not about kind of training ourselves not to see them. It's training ourselves to see past them. So, for instance, getting to the point where we see somebody of a different race or anything else, and those stereotypes are always going to flare up. There's going to be cultural connotations. Obviously, when I see a black person in Britain, I'm going to have a very different reaction and cultural reference point for how I'm seeing that person to say somebody in America. But the point is, I don't just see that person's skin color. I see the person, I get to know the person, and those stereotypes matter less and less over time. And that only happens through exposure and integration. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I just broadly wanted to agree with Sondsol, and also Zonya. Like, you're right. The amount of trans people getting talked over in this panel is really shocking. I am shocked. I am shocked
and appalled
and appalled and yeah, that's
muting a trans woman. My goodness. It's like nobody else has been muted on.
Can we talk about the solo? Can we talk about the solo wink like stereotype?
Has it really? Okay, now we can move on. Sorry, he wouldn't fight with.
You know what I would do, Wick? You know what I would do, Wick? I would mute Zonya for that outburst.
I feel like racially discriminated against. I feel racially discriminated against because he threatened to mute me, and he's just that.
Rose.
There you go. He's covered it all.
All right. Okay.
I want to push back. I want to push back on these two, though. I mean, this is some
really?
brain rot.
You're trying to do it. You're trying to do it. You're trying to do it. I promise you. You'll get your turn. You'll get your turn. Rose, go ahead.
Okay. First of all, I have a long thing, but I'll try to get it quickly. So I want to respond to the first thing that Black X Yamoto, I don't know if I pronounced that right, said to me earlier. First of all, I believe that if it's accurate, it's not harmful, or at least not as harmful. I think it's important. What's really important
There's my hot take for you guys.
I think what's important is educating people into having an accurate portrayal of groups. However, I do agree on one thing. Yes, we need to solve the problems by funding these communities, which would decrease the violence in Black communities and improve their conditions. That being said, even though the increased violence in the Black community isn't biological, it's still completely fine and moral for someone on the outside to steer away from communities out of fear for their own safety, even though these stereotypes can be fine as long as we improve these conditions and try to improve the situation. Helps everyone. Referring to what Trump meant probably is a dog whistle. I think Trump will only ever know if that's truly what he meant or whatever. I think it's fairly safe to say that it was, but I don't know 100%. Do people vote for conservatives because they're racist? Some probably do. I think the average conservatives probably don't. I met some conservatives who are great people and don't fit that stereotype, and I think that most conservatives are like that. Stereotypes can be harmful, actually, because they're not entirely accurate, and they focus on the most extremes of the group, and this applies for everybody. So when you're focusing on extremes, that's not real people. So I think that's an important aspect to do. Basically, last thing I want to say, referring to Asian people being smart, I feel like this is a lot of people say it's not a problem because it's a positive stereotype. So people think it's fine. Well, actually, these stereotypes can be harmful. For instance, affirmative action is extremely racist and harmful to Asian Americans, and it tells them they need to put to a much higher standard, which actually reinforces the stereotype. It needlessly limits the number of Asian Americans in colleges. It makes it so they need absurdly high test scores to get into a good college as compared to any student of any other race. So why should there be a limit to the number of Asian people for college? I think that's silly. If they all got good test scores, they should all be allowed. Meanwhile, me, a rich white girl, because I'm 50% Cuban, I'm Latina, I get preferential treatment in college admissions, which is silly to me, and I think it's insulting and racist to put Hispanic people to a lower standard because they assume that we're dumb. That is my whole statement. I tried to get through that fast. Apologies.
No, that was the most concise really anyone has been on here. Oleg, if you wanted to actually respond and weren't just trying to get muted, you may push back now. Now is your time. Yeah. Go ahead.
The problem that you guys have in general is that when you talk about this idea of like, oh, we're all talking about stereotype. That's the point I said earlier. We need to talk about what stereotyping really means. And when most people are referencing it, it's the idea of creating in-group and out-groups based around oversimplified and usually inaccurate types of beliefs, right? Oversimplified being sort of the main meaning of this, which is you see a black guy, so he's a rapist. But if you talk about context cues, if you're talking about evidence, then you start to make those assertions. Then it's okay to put people in and out groups. And I think that that's the thing that we've been sort of circling and dancing around, which is when people want to dismantle stereotyping, they're referencing the idea that we often oversimplify things based around just like, oh, this guy's black, he does this. Oh, this person's Asian, they're smart, versus the actual impacts that they have, the actual context of the situation. That's why when people say like, Republicans tend to be pretty bad or they tend to be shit, whatever you want to call it. Again, I wouldn't say those things, but I might say that Republicans tend to vote for racist things because the policies that they do, because of the evidence, because of who's getting elected within their spheres of influence. That's when you start to make those assertions. And that's the problem I see here, because it feels like what you guys are just arguing for is like, oh, you can never make any assertions about any person at all, even though they ascribe to be, let's say, a white supremacist, because, you didn't ask them if they hate black people. You just, they say they're white supremacists. Maybe they just care about white people. Maybe they just love white people. So that's the problem I'm seeing here, is that you have to make assertions based around certain ideologies. You have to look at context. You have to be able to at least at some point say that there are delimiting factors that allow you to properly and factually and correctly put someone in an in-group or an out-group.
Hey, I'll let
That's the
Sondsol
difference between stereotyping.
Sure. I'll let Sondsol, since you were directly viciously attacked there. I will let you respond to that,
Okay.
and then we got Zonia, Gatheist, and Doobie.
I'm actually like blown away. If you think that we can't like separate out the ideas of like a literal like white nationalist or something like that being someone that probably has pretty negative views about
why.
What do you think I've been arguing this entire time? I'm actually curious. Can you like state back like me and Beckett's position? I actually just want to like make sure we're actually arguing.
Yeah, you said MAGA people, we can't assume that let's say they're racist, right? You can't assume that a MAGA person is, let's just say, doesn't care about black people. What, it doesn't matter. Because you haven't talked to them individually to learn what actually makes them believe what they believe. So, why would a white supremacist why would they hate black people?
Okay, do you think that there's a difference?
Just let me, real quick. Lake, that's not what's being done here. They're not saying, no one is saying, I think, that you can't assume things about someone who says they're white supremacist. I think you can. But what people are pushing back against is, I understand it, and I'll let Sondsol speak for himself, but I'm going to talk over him because I'm a, cis-het white male, and that's what I do. But I will say that you're saying Republicans don't like black people. You are extending that from just white supremacists to Republicans as a whole, right?
No, well, I mean, and I'm not in this situation. I might say, for example, Republicans support racist policies. Like that would be what you would say for a macro level.
That is also the reason why I was like saying that the whole perception.
Went too far. Yeah, like I would say, Polly went too far in her assertion. So don't ascribe Polly's positions to mine. But the argument is, if I were to say Republicans support racist policies.
Can I ask for an example for racist policy?
If I go shop at Walmart,
Listen,
I interrupted Sondsol, so I'm going to let him respond, right? Because I rudely interrupted Sondsol, so Sondsol can finish. Then Zonia, you're directly next. And then we got Gatheist and Doobie, and then I guess Durko.
Okay, I don't think that anybody's like making the argument that you can't make these judgments on people, right? I'm saying that if you're going to say that, this is my point. We're making arguments here about what, whether or not stereotyping is good or bad or anything like that. It feels like when we talk about the stereotypes that people say are bad, right? Namely, like if we were talking about like gay people aren't like child predators or something like that, right? Like those are like negative stereotypes that we probably don't want to reinforce, right? But if you're going to say that all stereotyping is bad, right? I think that for you to like sit there and say that all stereotyping is bad, but it's okay when I stereotype like all conservatives as being like racist, I think that's really fucking stupid, right? I would also like, I would push back on the idea that every single Republican or every single Trump supporter is like this like virulent racist. I think that it's much different to look at someone.
Every single, right? Let's not get into
but when you say stereotyping,
we're saying broadly this group.
If I would say if a person were to vote for someone that says Mexicans are rapists and etc., I would assume that person would be like the presumption is that person is voting for somebody that would be racist. So would it be wrong for me to assume that the person that's voting for that person is racist as well?
I don't think that it's
And I
wrong.
push back really quickly on that specifically, just to help.
Sure, go
Sondsol,
ahead,
because it is
Beckett.
both of our points. So, okay, fair enough. Fair enough. If you want to make that point, everyone who voted for Hillary Clinton hates the working class because she made open comments about baskets are deplorable. So everyone who votes
That's
Democrat has an issue with the working class. Would you? I mean, are you happy with that stereotype?
When they say
if we-
one
I mean,
thing,
that's
if we're doing it that way, then yeah.
the body of evidence.
Yeah, I think
would
most
be
people on the
important.
left. I think most people on the left would agree that she's not big on the working class.
Yeah.
Okay, but she's not big on the working class. That's
Wait,
fine.
but is she a racist?
Does that mean
because of
everyone
super
who?
predator comment?
I'm okay.
Well,
Well,
everyone
yeah.
who
This,
voted
this,
for her. Yeah,
yeah,
Hey,
this
let-
is
let
the point.
Beckett-
This is
let
the point.
Beckett
If you're
finish his
voting,
point.
Yes, I
if
would
you're voting,
assume that she is.
okay,
No,
but
no,
I'm not
the
talking about
voters-
her.
the voters.
I'm talking about the voters. You're saying that everyone who voted, like the argument
Everyone.
there
Why do you
with
keep
Polly.
saying everyone?
Then-
Say
because-
we're talking about
because that's
groups,
what we're
right?
talking about.
Because
talking
you're
about
saying that.
You're
stereotypes.
saying that you
everyone
literally
who
made
voted
the
for-
argument not 2 minutes ago.
No, I
that
did
like
not make that. Let me explain to you the argument. Okay, maybe because you guys are actually talking past me here. Let me
I'm
explain
just
to you the
using
argument.
your exact words, okay? Like the words that you said is the reason why we're like responding like this. You said, is it not like a bad thing to assume that if someone voted for someone that said something negative about Hispanic people, that they themselves are racist, right?
I said support racist policies.
No, you said
But
that
see,
they themselves
you guys
are
are going
racist.
to keep going and saying I'm saying they're racist. I said they support racist policies.
No, that is not what you said. But you can
I
even
said
say
exactly they support racist policies.
Regardless, then also if someone were to vote for Hillary, you would say that they also agree with those policies you're talking about. I'm
Anti-working class.
Canadian,
No,
but
broadly
whatever.
because
Yeah.
again, this is a multifaceted discussion. But if you were to vote for,
You would have
Sorry,
to
sorry,
logically
sorry,
agree
sorry.
to be
That's rude.
consistent.
Sorry, go ahead.
Can I
Go
get
ahead.
10
I
can I get like 30
apologize. I
seconds?
apologize. Go
Okay.
ahead.
I'll do it in 30
Beckett,
seconds.
Beckett, I'll let you be very clear, right? Because give it a
Yeah,
go.
let me
30
be
seconds.
clear.
No.
Let me
Hey,
be clear.
Beckett, no, let him go.
Okay.
No one fucking interrupt this guy. No one do it. 30 seconds. He gets 30 seconds uninterrupted. I got a timer. Go.
Oh my god.
Oh,
Okay, so-
you just did it. He didn't even start. Okay, go.
So when we talk about the idea of saying, okay, when you talk about multifaceted, you might say, okay, Donald Trump, he's part of the Republican Party. He's saying these things. Who's underneath him? What are they saying? What's that person that's in the entire party apparatus saying? What's Ted Cruz saying? What's Marco Rubio saying? You might look at all those people and say, okay, they're broadly aligning to a certain belief. They're broadly saying the same exact things. When you look at the Democratic Party, you might say, oh, okay, cool, there's Hillary Clinton. She said super predators once, but she also did these policies. She has a running mate that says a different thing. AOC's in the mix. Bernie Sanders is in the mix. You look at a broad apparatus. This is why politics is probably one of the best ways to be able to make assertions about people or at least understand it, because factually you have a broad coalition of people that are coming together and there's usually a shared belief that's coming from them. So when somebody says, well, Republicans, or let's say MAGA, but let's say Republicans in general, generally support racist policies, it's because the broad swath of them are either putting at the forefront racist policies as part of their platform, or they tend to ignore racist policy solely to focus on, let's say, economic issues or whatever that also then have racist, undertones. Does that make more sense?
Okay, now you may respond, but then we got a line.
Okay.
It does make sense, but with exactly the same band that you've just put on, you can say that anyone who votes for Democrat policies is voting against the interests of the majority of the white-collar working class.
Hold on really
is
quick, Beckett.
incredibly...
That's
Yeah,
not what he's
yeah.
saying. So this is the problem. He thinks that like all Republicans are a monolith based off of like the broad.
But not?
How did you get that?
No. So like,
How
so
the fuck
argument-
is that not what you're saying? When you're saying that
Well,
they're
yeah,
all following the party line, they're all supporting the same policies, et cetera, like that's just not true. When we look at Republicans, we can look at a range of different belief systems and policies and shit that they believe in. We can look at someone like John McCain, who actually like made Trump's life fucking hell when trying to get rid of the ACA. We can look at someone like what's his
49. 1 out of 50. Yeah.
Yeah, the good.
Okay, well, what about
Yeah, you
someone?
made your point.
Whoa!
2%.
Mitt
Yeah.
Romney, fucking Rand Paul. These people are not like MAGA types, right? These people are significantly different than someone like Marjorie Taylor Greene. Do you agree or disagree with that?
I disagree. Sorry, I agree with that. Yeah.
Okay, then why the fuck are you going to sit here and say that? Oh well, well you're actually so wrong, Sondsol. You're so crazy for saying that that the Republicans aren't all following along the same party lines. Yes, AOC and fucking Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden. They all have like a range of beliefs. The Democratic Party has a range of beliefs. But guess what? Like broadly speaking, yeah, they too also like fall in line with the party when needed, when the party like is voting on some major piece of legislation. Now, like I agree, right? I agree that like broadly speaking, the Republican Party probably doesn't do like great policy for minorities in this country, okay? I'm not going to fucking contest that, right? But to say that they're all literally the same, right? Like I don't know how old you are, and I don't want to like sound condescending, but like when I was growing up,
same. You're still doing it. I don't know how you're getting like I know what you're doing. You're straw manning. Of course,
I'm not straw manning. I'm giving you my perception of what your argument is, because you are saying that like, oh well, you can look at all this wide breadth of like diversity and thought in the Democratic Party, and you can't see that in the Republican Party. And you list off names.
That's why I don't make crazy statements. So I'm not going to say every single Republican is a mouth-breathing racist. I'm not going to say that. What I'm going to say is that Republicans broadly support racist policy. So that's the point. I'm not going to go and say what Pauly says, where I'm going to be like, oh, every single MAGA supporter is literally a piece of shit murdering rapist. I'm not going to do that. No, when you are ascribing a thing, a belief, an ideology to an in-group or an out-group, you have to base it around evidence, and you can't go to the point where you're making crazy statements. You might make statements that are reflective of that political group. So if I say that they support racist policy, that makes sense because they are supporting racist policy.
We got a line. There's back and forth, but we're looping again. So we got a line. We're going to go to Zonia, Gaithius, Doobie, Durka.
Okay, so here's something to point out. Not all voters are terminally online Twitch political commentary streamers. A ton of voters, most voters in the US tend to fall along the single issue voting mentality, right? And one thing that we know, for instance, with like Trump's base of support in 2020, he had a 31% increase in the Latino vote. And they're not going over there because they like the fact that Trump talks about how Mexicans are like rapists and criminals. They're going over to vote based on usually other issues, oftentimes single issues, and they themselves, you can broadly ascribe to them, yes, that by casting their vote for the Republicans, yes, they are supporting racist policies, but to stereotype them that way has a problem because it doesn't recognize that they're not a bunch of political nerds who are cognizant of these policies and the nuances of them and the systemic racial issues. So this is something that we, as total fucking terminally online nerds, can nitpick about like crazy, and we're educated on and aware of and pay attention to all the time. But your average American voter, guess what? Even on the left, pretty fucking stupid and fairly single issue on their voting.
Okay.
I'm sorry to say, Sonia, but I go outside. Okay?
Hey,
I touch grass.
Respond.
I'm not terminally online.
I'll let you respond.
I'm sorry you feel that way.
Respond. But before I do, I just want to point out, gang, I can't do this for free. I'll just do a little shilling here. If you like this content, please follow because, oh God, it's painful. If you want me to continue to do this, please sub, right? I need money to continue to do this for this amount of pain. Please take pity on me. Okay, with that done, you can respond if you like. Then we got Gaithiest, Doobie, Durka, Yamato. Go.
Either this case means that, okay, if somebody just doesn't know enough, you can't make any assertions. Okay, then they're just uneducated. Cool. And guess what? As a Chilean, I know this very well. Many people will vote. They've said it. Parts of my family have voted for Donald Trump because they have said, I just don't like socialism, even though Donald Trump's a racist, right? He said bad things about Mexicans. I just don't like socialism. That's my grandfather will tell me that. Okay, cool. That's the point. Now, again, we do need to say that there are actual consequences to people's actions. Clearly, he's making an assumption. Let's say somebody in that situation is making an assumption that, well, for them, it's more important to stop socialism than stop racial, discrimination, whatever you want to call it. And so the point is that you can see somebody making that determination on what's important to them. That's why you might say that broadly Republicans will support racist policies, because for them, that's not as important to them. That even if they aren't racist themselves, they just don't really care. It's the same way that you would say the white family that doesn't want to, let's say, avoid, desegregation, doesn't want to desegregate their schools, just doesn't want their home values to go down. Because, if the black people come into the schools, it's going to make their house prices go down.
That goes to the neighborhood.
So, okay, cool. Yeah, you're right. They're doing an economic policy, but at the same time, either they're uneducated and they're unaware. So then, yes, of course, we need to say it. Or you do have to say that, hey, sorry, you're supporting racist policy, my friend, because the factual case of the matter is that you are making you're doing a racist thing, right? That's kind of
okay. So you are saying that they're doing racist shit. You're saying that Republicans are racist.
They're supporting racist policy, sure.
Because
I think.
Wait,
hold on. Whoa.
Did we just go back in the circle? What the fuck?
Yeah.
I'm not saying they're racist. I'm saying they're supporting racist policy.
So you just like
why are we going back in circle?
Hold on. I want to clear something up real quick. Saying that they're supporting racist policy, I don't think is a stereotype. I think it's effectively saying that if you cast your vote for specific Republicans that are reinforcing these policies, yes, you are by extension supporting racist policies. I think that's fine. But saying that people who voted for Trump, that they trying to essentialize and reduce them down to that, ignores why it was that they decided to not vote Democrat in the first place. That's the problem. You are essentializing them as that supporting the racist policies, instead of trying to understand, hey, why the fuck didn't you vote blue this time around? Why the fuck did you vote for the guys who are supporting racist policy? That's the problem with what you're doing. It is essentializing them as that instead of why they did what they did.
You're also doing this weird Mott and Bailey shit, where you're on one hand saying, "Oh no, well, I'm not saying they're all racist. I'm just saying that they support racist policies," and then like in the same breath saying like, "Oh well, I'm not racist, but like my home values are gonna go down if those those blacks come into my neighborhood." Like, yeah, that would be a racist fucking thing. Do you disagree?
He's looking at the stats. He's just looking at the numbers.
Do you disagree that someone who is? Do you disagree that someone that is scared? Do you think that it is racist?
There goes the fucking neighborhood.
Yeah. Do you think it's racist when someone says like, "Oh, well, there goes the neighborhood," when a couple of fucking Hispanic people walk in?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're calling them racist. Don't fucking hide from it. Just fucking own it. I don't like this fucking back and forth like bullshit where we're having to like suss out your position over like 45 minutes. Just fucking own it.
I'm not going to ascribe something to that whole group of people that cannot be easily validated. But if I can ascribe something to a group that's much more easy to validate, which is Republicans vote for people that seem to do racist policies. That is literally in their platforms. Let's say anti-trans stuff. I can argue
no, you're doing the Mott and Bailey again.
Vote for anti-trans policy in the same way that I can say Republicans vote for racist policy.
I appeal to the moderator. Maybe I'm only listening for very specific words. Can I just appeal to you really quick? Is it not the case that on one hand we're talking about?
Are you asking me to take sides?
No. I want to understand. I'm begging you to help me understand. Because on one hand, it feels like this guy is saying, "Oh, well, I don't think that they're all racist. They're just implicitly accepting or tacitly accepting racist policies." And then on the other side,
I'll give you my opinion.
And then on the other side, he's also saying very specific statements.
This whole time I heard, right? I've heard the back and forth. In my view, right, that when you say things like they tend to support racist policies, what you mean may be one thing. I think what he means isn't what you're ascribing to it, but what people hear is exactly what you're ascribing to it. So I think in Sondsol, in that way, you are correct that when people hear that, they are like, "You're calling me racist." That's what they hear, and it's not a big leap to think that's what they hear. Well, that's just what it is.
It's not even what I think that they would hear. I would say that the things that he is ascribing to, like, you know, the decisions or the reasons that they're making these decisions are explicitly racist, right? There goes the neighborhood type talk, you know, like, I don't want to desegregate the schools, you know, because of family values. I would say these are explicitly racist.
If you don't mind, let me reiterate to sort of.
Can I say something? Because I need to go in about 2 minutes. I need to go in like 2 minutes.
Oh, you got to go? Okay, I'll give you.
Yeah, I've got to go
closing
too.
thoughts and then go. But
Yeah,
we're going to keep going for a little bit here, but we are going to start wrapping up. So I want to get the people who are in line, I want to get them in too. So I'll let you go real quick. Tell people where they can find you. Then I'll let you respond. And then we got Gaithias, Doobie, Durka. I swear to God, gang, we're going to get through it. Go ahead.
Okay, so thank you so much, Wick. As always, this has been an experience. I love 9 to 10 man panels, as you know. They're my favorite things to do in the world. My God, man. My name is Beckett. I am the Imperial Orator. You can find me on Twitch. You can find me at Crabs Are Great on Twitter. And you can also find my Patreon, which is full of D&D maps at Imperial Orator on Patreon. And it's been really fun. I do D&D and political stuff. Wick and Sondsol do a weekly game with me. My closing thoughts to this is, fuck me, I have no idea where we are, other than I think I was right with my initial statement that everyone uses stereotypes anyway. I largely agree with Sondsol. I always agree with Doobie because he's fun. And I hope all of you have a fantastic night. Thanks very much for having me, Wick.
See you, Beckett.
Thanks for being here. It's gone chaotic, I know, but that's Friday's panel. Mondays are much more calm and collected. Okay, Gaithias, Doobie, and then Durka.
So I wanted to respond to 2 points that I keep hearing, which is really upsetting because they're kind of reinforcing Oleg's point, but without directly saying it. So when I hear someone say, oh, liberals are just morally lucky, you're kind of implying liberals are morally right. And then you're also then implying conservatives are morally wrong. And so then we have to make the question, okay, why are they morally wrong? Right? What are they doing wrong? What would we describe that wrongness as? You might not say racism, but you're going to appeal to some general idea of misunderstanding of economics or bigotry or something like that. So I'm just saying, when you make that statement, just be clear, you're kind of, in a way, agreeing with him. And second thing that I would like to point out, because apparently this is like a clarification or miscommunication with Doobie. No, I don't have a problem with any woman like walking late at night and there was like a white guy and a black guy and she decided to cross the street. I don't have a problem with individuals who are reacting to systems that they didn't create nor control. What I do have a problem with is that statistic that 98% of rapes in New York are committed by black men is factually incorrect. And that in the actual United States, just in general, white men commit about twice as much rape as black men, even though, yes, they are a much bigger slice of the population than just twice the black population. But also that New York is disproportionately, compared to the United States, full of people of color. So without any sort of context, we can create this idea that black people are more likely to do something or significantly more likely to do something. But when we actually analyze these statistics to their fullness, it's not that picture. So I don't have a problem with that woman if that statistic was true. I just have a problem that generally when we talk about these statistics, we're just being factually incorrect or ignoring blatant context that reveals deeper mathematical truths of the situation.
Okay. Luckily, Doobie is next. Go ahead. Uh-oh.
Hello?
Oh, there
Hello?
you are. There you are.
So yeah, everything Gaithias just said was incorrect. So I'm only going to focus on my part, though. I'll leave the other one to, I guess, Sondsol. So you said that the statistic that black and brown people commit 98% of murders and rapes in NYC is factually incorrect. I agree, but I never said that. I said up to 90% in any given year. I can link you the crime stats from the NYPD. You can look back over 2 decades.
Please do.
And you will find that in any given year, it's going to be up near 90%. It's going to be in fucking 80s at least, right? And yeah, it's true that black and brown people are disproportionately compared to the rest of the United States. They are in New York City, but there's still like a vast minority in the city, right? It's like 20-some% versus like, it was like 15% of the United States right now. Well, if you include like Hispanics,
yeah,
you
said
black and brown people.
You didn't
yeah,
just
but
say
including like
Hispanics,
it's way more than that in the rest of the United States, right? But fuck, I know that black people are like 20% of NYC. I
Well,
forgot what they explained.
yeah,
But that's not really
move
important.
forward.
No, not really important. Not really important. Okay, but the fact is, the stat that I was pointing to is correct, and it has nothing to do, I think, with the amount of black and brown people in NYC being like disproportionate to the rest of the United States. So yeah, I don't know why you would say that, but I think that you can respond to that if you like.
Okay. I was just gonna say, like, okay, I heard 98%. That was like mishearing on my part, I guess. But even with this, like up to 9%, again, we need to make sure we're clarifying that neighborhoods, disproportionate racial. It's not just the racial makeup of New York that I'm specifically talking about, right? But I'm talking about all the other factors that we're not giving to that context that make that situation different. Again, we're not even talking about the neighborhood that woman is walking in, right? We're not talking about like all these other factors, which would make that statement more clear, right? So I'm not saying that you are factually wrong. And again, I'm not saying that I would judge this woman for walking across the street, but I'm simply saying that we need to make sure that we're also giving these statistics in greater context, because 1350 or like all these other rape statistics have been used in harmful ways and incorrectly, because they went from something extremely personal, as in one woman walking across the street, to much greater context, like policing rates or school funding. And that is where we need to really break these down and reduce harm.
Right, but that isn't personal, right? So when the vast majority of violent crime in a society is committed by like a specific group of people, right? You can talk about, hey, well, why is it like this? You know, it's generational oppression. You know, maybe there's like drug issues, you know, that are like pushed by the government, you know, sending drugs into these areas or whatever the fuck. Right. So you can deal with that through policy, but you still need to deal with the reality that the vast majority of your violent crime is coming from this specific group of people in these specific areas. Right. So
Well,
I don't think it's racist to acknowledge that. And I think earlier the other thing that was kind of bullshit is that you said there was a misunderstanding earlier, right? When I was saying, hey, what would be wrong with this woman crossing to the street with a white guy on it instead of the black guy, because, you know, it's at night and maybe she's aware of these things and she's just more afraid of black people because of this. And you there wasn't a misunderstanding. I think it's pretty clear that you said it'd be like a racist thing for her to do if she did that.
You can definitely go back. I definitely did not say that.
Okay.
I specifically said my problem with the statistics is when you actually take in the context. In that statement, I didn't bring anything up about this woman being racist, but I did bring up location and how that would impact this woman's perspective in that individual scenario.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, of course. And maybe if she was on like Wall Street or something, she wouldn't have like this kind of fear. Maybe, right? Like I don't. That's not really relevant to the point that I was making, which is that yeah, sometimes people make stereotypes or make decisions based on stereotypes they have about specific groups of people, and it's totally okay and reasonable for them to do that.
In some context.
Yeah, I'm not saying in every single context in the fucking possible in the world, right? I'm saying in this context specifically. In some other context, yes, it's okay to be stereotypical and to make judgments based on the stereotype.
Okay. Let's go to. Everyone's gonna get a turn here, but let's go to Durka, and then I believe Yamato.
Okay, I don't know what much more we could say about stereotypes. I think we're all agreeing that some of them are, you know, okay to do, especially for your safety. But I was wondering what you guys think about trying to acknowledge a stereotype, right? Trying to solve the issue is why it's there in the first place. But more than that, just start understanding as human beings that just because you're raised in a place, just because you're raised in Ukraine, and you are that way now, and you have done that, it doesn't mean that you can't be someone different. And then we're gonna have a new stereotype on you, you know, if they decide to change their ways. You know what I mean? A good stereotype, I guess. And
so what are you saying? Are you saying that
like when we were looking at earlier today, I was looking at a TED talk regarding Asian stereotypes and how it actually boosted them in society, and they're kind of well off now because of it. Yes, there's pressures on the kids and blah blah blah, but they're still in a way better situation than black people. So I was saying, well, why don't we do that to black people? Why don't we stereotype them in such a good way, boost their self-esteem, and make they think that they're gods and they could do whatever they want, and make that propaganda around in the States? Like, wouldn't that be pretty good? I'm like, yeah, the white people would be left behind
Does
because no
anyone wanna
Asians and
deal
blacks
with
are
it?
at top.
Yeah, because then I would be asked to solve fucking math problems every day. I don't
So,
want
well, hey,
That's
Play
good.
into
You would be a
First of all,
productive
let's
individual.
Let's let Gaithius respond too, as
first
the
of
black
all,
people in the panel. So.
as a black math major, I denounce that. Black people can definitely do math. It's just most people can't do math, and because of that, like it's just in the culture. But I'll just say again, like these positive stereotypes, I believe, like still had plenty of negative impact on Asian Americans, and to prescribe that it was the positive stereotypes that got them to where they are, and not maybe the financial capacity to cross an ocean to get to the United States, or their ability to come together as a community through force of common language and culture. Like it just seems like there would be very little evidence if we were to look at all the things that made Asian Americans different from African Americans in terms of starting points to why they ended up where they were being due to positive stereotypes.
Wait, there was actual like propaganda put out that really painted them as industrious, hardworking people, like really propagandized stuff on TV and stuff, especially when that first started. It wasn't just because they were wealthy coming over. There were even some Asian Americans that were there like building the railroads. I mean, did you forget about that? Like really ancient generational Asian people. But it was just like a campaign to make people think that they were industrious and polite and kind and all these good things. So like they were like boys stood up to like be this thing, and so they are now. It's like literally like just brainwashing them to believe that they're amazing, and it worked.
I think that it was more because of.
Hey, we're gonna let everyone. Gaithius, you can respond real quick, but then we got to move to Yamato.
Oh yeah, I definitely want to let other people get in on this.
Please,
I'm just saying that like, I just maybe from my personal experience and just blind to this, but I would not believe that if we actually took the cultural differences, for example, of what practices Asian Americans naturally do, or if we were to look at the actual economic situation of Asian Americans and do some sort of statistical regression, we would find areas that had really high Asian positive stereotypes being like a big factor. I think there's a lot of things that come first. And then when, you know, a lot of white people are just exposed to a lot of very well educated Asian people, then after that, maybe that stereotype could be created. But I think that trying to do this for Black people just like would not functionally work.
Okay, so Yamato wanted in, and if anyone else has thoughts on this, please, we'll get that. But after that, after we get through this, right, we're going to kind of wind down, gang, because I can't, like, my brain is gone now. You have all destroyed me and my faith in all humanity. You've done that to me, and this is a thing that you will have to answer for later. But
you think it's destroyed, but we can go even lower, buddy.
Wait, are you stereotyping the entirety of humanity now?
I'm about to. This is Wick's evil villain arc. Okay, go ahead, Yamato.
So the one of the things when I first asked to be a part of this panel is I wanted to talk about like how Black people use stereotypes and their jokes and stuff like that. But I think it's a little bit too late because that's what I wanted to take it to. We got too into the talking about like Trump supporters and shit. So one of the things I've done like or negative stereotypes that I kind of don't like is the Black people like fried chicken and watermelon. Makes me not want to eat those things. Like whenever I order chicken in front of white people, I gotta look around and make sure no one's watching me or anything like that. But I think the Asian stereotypes kind of do affect Asian people today. Like Rose said earlier, they get discriminated against because the perception is that they're smart, they're well exceptional when it comes to getting into colleges. I think that positive stereotype does affect them.
And what if you're not smart? It's bad because if you say all Asians are smart, you up jump an Asian person and give them a promotion and they're not capable.
Yeah, I know. Like,
but socially, they'll be accepted.
Let him finish. Oleg's been very good, right? Oleg's been very good. I'm gonna let him finish, and then you can respond.
positive stereotypes are just generally not going to be good for everybody because you're going to ascribe something that people are just generally not going to be, and the stats aren't going to prove it. So yes, Asian people generally have, let's say, are going to do better at school. That's kind of what it says. But if you start to ascribe that idea, then what happens to Asian students who fall behind? Is it just going to be accepted that you don't give them extra support because, hey, don't worry, they'll pull their weight, or their parents are smart or whatever? So I think positive stereotypes are generally going to be pretty bad because they're not really based around real stats. They're just going to be based around maybe broader functional things. Like, let's say nowadays many Asians do come to this country. Let's say if you're from mainland China or Korea or Japan in general, you're going to come here and you're going to usually have more financial support. So like if you have a bigger contextual view, then you can start to make to ascribe things. But when you're just saying like Asians are smart, it ends up being a bad thing.
Yeah, and there are some like positive stereotypes that fit Black people. It just gets used in like very shitty ways. Like so like a white person will see you and they'll go, "Oh, you're big. You must play football. Do you play basketball?" Or yeah, like the BBC thing. They just assume that type of shit, right? Those things are like fucking like very, very negative, even though people see them as positive. So
wait, so like as a woman, right? Like people stereotype me that I'm gonna act a certain way and I'll get some privilege because of that. Like I'm dead serious here. So I would say in some of the same ways, like if someone thinks your entire family is industrious, smart, hardworking, and polite, they're going to be treated differently at restaurants. They're going to be treated differently at social gatherings, on the street. People are going to be more willing to help them. I understand that there's bad things that come with that, and the pressure on people in the colleges thing. But actually, like, they'll actually get to go to college, by the way. Like I'm saying comparatively, when there's all these stereotypes, yeah, like what are the stereotypes that we have about Black people? They're all just frivolous, like whatever things. There's nothing really that good in Black stereotypes. I'm just suggesting it would be better if they had the same stereotypes as Asian people.
There's positive Black stereotypes. Yeah, Black people are faster. They fast twitch muscles.
Sure, but like they're just very frivolous. Like
faster for running away from
they're better warriors.
But not everyone can be athletes.
Okay, we can think of. Is this literally the best like positive stereotypes y'all can think of Black people? Like not like music or rhythm or anything like that.
The big dick thing that Black people play into all the time. Like
Hey! I really want to get away from us just listing stereotypes.
I want to talk about BBC.
I want to get away. I don't.
That could be a good or a bad thing.
When we were talking about, I thought we were talking about the news network.
I want to actually address Jericho's point though, which is that we need to have a real conversation though. Where do these stereotypes again come from, right? Like we can say we wish and hope that people would think like these great things. We can also just straight up wish that people didn't stereotype Black people at all, right? But the question is, how do these things actually come about? And that's why I went back to my original point. Like if we were to actually look at where these stereotypes are coming from, it probably was that just Asian Americans that were able to do that probably as a culture, because it was different from the United States. The average white person was just perceived as like exceedingly like polite and exceedingly scholarly, right? And so that's probably where that came from, and that's where it rooted. It didn't just come up with us just sitting in a group as like a Twitch chat and just saying we should positively stereotype Asians. It probably was just based on some like historical interaction, right? But we can't just wish it to be, right? We can do things in media. We can do things like representation and positive representation. But I don't think it's going to be anywhere along the lines of trying to actually create different stereotypes. I think it's just going to be representing people, either Black, white, Asian, Hispanic, or whatever, as people.
Okay. So, first of all, if anyone feels that they want to address this specific topic, please do so. Now is your chance. But if not, we're going to move into closing statements because, gang, you made me work for it today. This has been, by far, the hardest panel to moderate that I have ever put on, and I hate every single one of you for it. No, in all seriousness, I love you. Thank you for being here. But does anyone want to address that specific point? If there's more to talk about, I want to get into it. But if not, I want everyone to have a chance to have a closing statement. Tell them where you are, where you're at, where they can find you, and because gang, I love the fire here. If poly people like, sorry she got muted, but I did warn
She
people.
left because she's racist. She found out I'm brown and she left. That's all it was.
Okay, we'll start with Doobie, I guess, and have your closing thoughts, and then we'll kind of go around. So Doobie, go ahead.
So yeah, I kind of crashed the panel, I guess, and I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. But yeah, thanks for having me on. And stereotyping is great. Just FYI, we're having Ryan Macbeth on my server tomorrow. He's a YouTuber. We're having an AMA with him. He's like a military cybersecurity dude. Has like 400,000 subscribers or some shit. But then more interesting, we have Alex Stein, the big booty Latina AOC harasser dude. He's going to be there on Sunday. That should be really fun too. So, just FYI.
Wow. Okay, those are some big name guests, right? I'm looking forward to how that goes. Yeah, post your link to the Discord.
Dude had Roger Stone on.
Yeah, they did. It was wild. But thank you for being here, Doobie. We have a love-hate relationship with you here, but mostly love. So thank you for coming on, and thank you for helping me out. I really do appreciate you. Durka, please.
I'm still on the fence, honestly. I know I stereotype and I'm aware of it, so I still try to be really nice to my own people, Ukrainians, right? Especially if they're coming over. I have 2 Ukrainian tenants in my building right now. They did not accept them because of that. But you know, I'm gonna try to still protect myself in life, and if there's some stereotypes that I find to be real, because I will look into it, I'm going to proceed through life just to protect myself.
Okay, thank you again, Durka. This is your first time on. I will say this: I appreciate you being honest with your views. It is much more helpful, right, when people are able to just say what they actually think. But aside from us having to go in circles trying to unmask them.
I mean, I understand a lot of people are going to think I'm racist and everything. I'm not, but they're going to think what they're going to think. And
But yes, you know, we have our opinions, right? And we disagree, but I'm glad you feel comfortable enough to share what you really think. Thank you for coming on. Next up, we have Olake, who has been a great contender on this panel. Really like his energy he's bringing. Please tell people where they can find you.
You can find me over at Olake on YouTube or Olake TV on Twitch and Twitter. So, you know, that's kind of where I'm at. I mean, I think interesting in closing, you know, what I would kind of say is that I think one of the big problems we struggled with here is that there was a definition that I was trying to relate over and over again, that stereotyping for me was when you make oversimplified views of people, you know, the sort of, well, black people, I saw a black person, he looked like he had baggy pants and therefore, you know, they're all thugs or something. The idea is that oftentimes for me, those are stereotypes. That's where I consider stereotyping to be. When we move beyond that and we start thinking about why when we introspect on ourselves, when we say to ourselves, okay, here's my experience, here's the culture, let's say of Ukraine, all that kind of thing, and you start to make an actual rationale for why you believe something, I think that's where, you know, that's where you start to move away from it being a stereotype and it actually being something a bit more grounded in reality. Now, I think we'll never agree. I think it sounds like, you know, based around what like Sondsol and Doobie were saying, like for them, you know, maybe it's a little different, right? Maybe it's like, okay, well, you can't assume anything ever at any point. No, I think you try to find the evidence-based theories, and that's why you don't say crazy things. That's why, for example, I don't like how lefties oftentimes will jump up and say like, oh, every single conservative is a racist. No, but I will try to use the evidence in the context of what I've seen to be able to make other assertions where I might say, yes, you may not be a racist per se, or you may not be conscious of it, but you might be doing racist policies. You might be supporting racist policies as your, you know, sort of modus operandi whenever you vote. And I think that it's not I know that people are going to get salty, and I agree with you, Wick, that like people get salty when they hear these things because they're not thinking about it and they're having a very visceral, you know, chode-like reaction. And that's fine. That's what fence sitters do. You know, the enlightened centrists love it. And I'm being a little bit of a joke, but of course I'm just saying it to make the spice, the fire. So anyway, if you guys like the content, watch me.
That is the content. I put a link to your Twitch. I don't have a link to your YouTube, but if you want to put all those links in my Twitch chat, please, gang, go give them a follow. Give them a whatever they do on YouTube. I don't know, subscribes. I really don't know. But yeah, I'll invite you again. Hopefully on a smaller panel so you can get more stuff. Next up, we have the man, the myth, the legend, Sondsol. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I guess what I would say is I feel like so my definition of stereotyping is going to come down to like assumptions based off of people. It's not that I don't think that you can ever make or not make a judgment call based off of these things. This is why I didn't at the beginning of this morally load the idea of stereotyping. I think that it is a way that we kind of box people in our minds. We're human beings, and we like to create patterns. What I don't like is when we have people that will, on one hand, say like all stereotyping is bad, and then do the exact thing that they are saying is the bad thing. I don't like hypocrisy. I don't like it when people pretend that they are better than others because they do one thing or another. Yeah, so like that's where I came into this panel at. It's sad that Polly left in the middle of it. If she's still watching, or if any of the people that I disagreed with on the panel want to relitigate it in a one-on-one setting, so that we don't have 5,000 conversations going on at once, I would welcome that, because I think that maybe we agree, but I'm not 1,000% sure.
Are you streaming after this, Sondsol? We'll right into you.
I am streaming after
Okay,
this.
we'll just right into you after this. But we got to get through everyone stuff, and then I got to chill for a minute. Yamato, please.
Oh wait, is my mic on?
Now it is.
Okay, I was supposed to be on taking a break from the space for like the past couple of days, but I saw this and I wanted to join. I think when we stereotype people, it could be wrong. I will acknowledge that there are some positive stereotypes, but they also can just be used negatively. My name is Black X Yamato. I stream video game stuff, most recently League of Legends and stuff. And that's pretty much it.
Yamato, I do appreciate you coming on, but you did tell me you weren't going to make it today, so I invited another person. But it was okay.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Don't apologize. Stop it. Stop apologizing. We love Black Yamato. Give him a follow, gang. He helps me out a lot with these panels. He helps me as my producer, right? So half of it, if you want to blame someone, blame him, please, not me.
Also,
it's technically my fault.
Also, he's got really good
Love blaming black people, don't you, Wick?
Okay, we're gonna go to Rose. Rose, please help.
Wow, this was one of the craziest panels I've ever been on. You guys were wow. But it was very entertaining, so I'm glad I got to be a part of it. One thing I want to say is when it comes to stereotyping, obviously there's a lot of people who have stereotypes based on people they've never really met. Some people have just never met a person of a certain race. They feel some weird stuff. But also, believe it or not, some people who feel strongest are people who've met a lot of people under that certain race. I think the Ukrainian thing is a good example. A lot of people look at Ukraine and think Ukraine must be the social, like, they're very woke, they're very supportive, and then people who actually know Ukrainians might be some of the most to actually be like, oh, actually, no. I think that's a good example. I had a lot of controversial views on gay men or gay women, or like just gay people in general, and I think the reason was because I was in a community that had a lot of gay people in it, which is why I had such strong feelings. So it could be frustrating when some people have their stereotypes based on no personal experience at all, and other people have from lots of experience. I don't think that all stereotypes are bad. I think that you really have to depend on the situation, because they absolutely can be harmful when they're inaccurate and they cause harm and ignore certain causes of things that are like, not mentioned. But, they can be helpful, for people as well. So I think there's nuance here. I know there's a lot of people just want to say it's bad. Also, I'm going to leave it at that. My YouTube channel is youtube.com/c/rosemoulet. I will be linking it in the Twitch chat. Thank you for having me on, and I hope to come back on again someday.
Well, thank you for being here. You have very interesting takes, and very few times do I agree with you, but your perspective is worth hearing. So I brought you on, and you did not disappoint. Thank you for being polite. Thank you for listening, right? And thank you for being mostly concise. I appreciate you. Next up, we have the Gaytheist. Please, if you were unclear how to spell your Twitch channel, I want to shout you out, but if you could please put the link, because I don't know how to spell it. So go ahead.
It's just Gay, GAYTHEIST TV. So Gaytheist TV on Twitch. And then on Twitter, it is the Gaytheist is gay, spelled the same way. And I'll just appeal to my original point that I feel like this really reinforced this, that stereotypes are the junk food of pattern recognition. And that in some cases, like a woman walking late at night on dark road in New York, right, that sometimes junk food can save you from starvation. And when I say starvation, I mean a specific, incredible lack of information. But when you do have time, when you do have the ability, and when you have excess information, then these stereotypes tend to cause harm, regardless of how accurate they are or statistically significant. So, when you're interacting with people in the real world and in real context, whether that be businesses or conversation, try to actually pay attention and really try to reduce the idea of stereotypes. But just know that I'm not going to judge you if you're walking late at night and some long racial, sexual, sexuality or religious thought comes to your mind that's just based on general statistics. I won't judge you.
Well, gang, there was a reason the Gaytheist was my first ever guest on my show, because he has the basest of takes. We love him here. He's great, gang. Go give him a follow. Go give him a subscribe. And last, but first in my heart, we have Zonia.
Yeah, so I love that term that Gaytheist came up with, the junk food of pattern recognition, and I'm going to use that in the future, if you don't mind. But yeah, I'm going to go back to my original point that when you essentialize a large and diverse group of people down to a minimal subset of negative behaviors or negative mentalities, it will cause you to inadvertently overlook that diversity in that space, in the various economic and social conditions that cause them to become part of that group of people through their votes or their actions, etc. And so I think that no matter what, we need to work on being much better critical thinkers and try to not play into our biases and not confirm our biases based on these stereotypes. And we need to be cognizant of the fact that when we broad brush large groups of people with stereotypes, we are eliminating their individuality and eliminating their diversity. So I'm going to stick with that. That's my position. Otherwise, lastly, I think the one thing that's probably been an issue for me in this panel is I can't get away from the stereotype that Twitch streamers are a bunch of terminally online idiots, nerds though, who nitpick some of the craziest shit and will ascribe that same level of understanding of things to a broad swath of the population that is not so terminally online and not so obsessive over these issues. So that's a stereotype I'm sticking with. Twitch political commentary streamers, yeah.
Zonia,
bunch of terminally online idiots.
You're preaching
And
fire. Let me compliment her. Let me compliment her without interruption.
I gotta give her permission. I gotta give her a quick. Yes, you can use the stereotypes of the junk food of pattern recognition.
You gotta steal like an artist, gang. You gotta steal trends like an artist. That's what you have to do. So, Zonia, really appreciate when you can make my panels. You always make my day. Today was chaos, gang. I do apologize that it got a little out of hand, right? I tried my best, but everyone was chomping at the bit, and actually, we love that. We love that everyone was so involved, that everyone was so willing to kind of get into the ring. Again, poly people, follow her too, right? I know she got angry and left, but I didn't kick her. She's welcome here, right? Anytime she wants, and I hope she does come back at some point. I hope that didn't sour the experience. Gang, if you like my content, please consider giving me a follow or a sub. I could really use the help. Also, I have a GoFundMe, and if my mods can put that in chat, if you have $5 extra or 10 extra bucks or even 50 extra bucks, you want to throw that my way. This tooth needs fixed, and VA doesn't cover that shit because it's cosmetic. So, we got to do what we got to do, and you guys have been great so far. We've raised almost $1,000 in the last 3 weeks, and it's been great. So but it's expensive. Need about 2,000 more. Gang, Monday is my next stream. Sunday is my birthday. I'll be older, so we're going to have the Monday stream. It's going to be my birthday stream, and we're going to have a wonderful set of guests, much smaller set of guests, to talk about the Supreme Court. Is that an institution that still has validity today? Should we reform it in any way, shape, or form? We're going to talk about it. We're going to get into the nitty-gritty with it, right? It'll be very fun. Tuesdays are my call-in show, where if you hate what I say, or if you love what I say, you can call in and tell me about it. And we'll have a lovely co-host as well. Not sure who yet, but we will get back to you. Gang, love you. Stay safe.
I don't recognize Taiwan. It's only China, okay?
Wait, no, Taiwan is based. I pushed back against that hard.
Shut up, Wick. Shut up. China's watching.
I'm gonna say
real
something
quick.
to Wick's audience, by the way. I want to kind of put a word out there. So Wick works his ass off to put these things together. It's very complicated. You deal with last minute cancellations and stuff, and all sorts of complications, and puts in a ton of effort. So if you can donate anything at all, just a few bits, or a sub if you can, that'd be great, or even a direct dono. Anything you can give him. Also, that beautiful face, it definitely needs that tooth repaired. So, if you can help him get toward that place in his life, he will be even prettier on stream than he already is, which is already glorious beauty. So please donate whatever you can, if you can, and show some a little support for what it is that he goes through to put these things together.
I like to hear Billy Wick look.
I appreciate it.
Okay.
I love you all. I would rate you all if I can, but I can't. So we're gonna go to Sondsol today. But next time we will go to other people. I love you all, and good night.
Oh wait, Sondsol, are you gonna be streaming after this? I think Wick asked you that.
I am going to be streaming. And hey, thank you, Wick, for the raid. I'm about to piss my pants. I really have to go.
On stream, but I gotta go. So,
all right, catch you
guys later.
But what's up?
Thanks a lot, guys. See you guys.
I was just gonna say, I would love to hop on your stream because it seems like I don't know. I didn't necessarily agree with everything that Oleg was saying about specifically stereotypes of conservatives, but I would really love, because I am a person who works with the Democratic Party, and it's actually really important for us to have an idea of why people are supporting Republicans and what may be the reasoning behind it. So I'd love to have a conversation with you about that specifically.
Yeah, just shoot me a DM. I might not be able to do it tonight because right after I run to the restroom, I'm going to be on another panel. But I stream a lot. So if you want to set that up, just bug me a whole bunch because I forget shit.
I already DM'd you a question of do you have a server? So just make sure.
All right. Yeah. I'll respond to that as soon as I get back. All right. I love all of you. I'll catch you later.
See ya.